Welcome back to Umineko. We most recently finished the tea party and the first arc. And now we have yet another tea party, as they have not one, but two post-credits scenes for each chapter. That's going to be quite the trip. Let's dig into this. And after this, we'll probably dig into chapter 2. Gotta get started on this. We got a lot ahead of us. See how this goes. Welcome to the tea party of those who are not human. So who are we gonna see at this tea party? It might be a lonely one. Beatrice and Beatrice and those who claim to be furniture, perhaps? Let's see. Episode 1, 4 question marks. Okay. We have a bunch of chairs. An ominous realm. Okay, Beatrice as predicted is here. What sort of black tea do you want to prepare next? I don't know. What kind of tea do you like, Beatrice? That seems like it's a question on you. Anyway, we seem to be in like some strange realm that's in between worlds. Yep, it's Beatrice. The organs are pretty loud, actually. They're going full bore on the organs. Yeah, it looks kind of cool. Allow me to display every refined tea that ever was and ever shall be. Well, that's quite the claim. And it's gonna be a long-ass list. Dried plum black tea. The kind that goes for 200 yen a pack. She has very specific tastes. For 1,000 years I've been fond of black tea, but I did not know of such a thing. It's the Beatrice command. You know what you're getting when you see the name in the face. You're like, there's only one way this man says the word Beatrice. So, you'll never tire of living in this world? Beato. You don't have to display such hostility. I thought she was inviting us to a tea party and showing off all her tea. I'm interested in your tea collection, lady. I love tea. I almost wish I had some right now. It's a little bit warm in the room right now, so I'm okay without tea. You don't have to display such hostility. I'm just a wandering witch. I didn't come with the intention of violating the rules of your territory. Hostility? I bear nothing of the sort. I don't know about that. Didn't you kill like 20 people, give or take? You're just terribly concerned with seeing to it that the legendary witch Lady Berncastel is well attended to. I guess this is Frederica then. Awesome. You misunderstand. I'm powerless. Before a witch such as you who possesses the dreadful power to kill an individual 100 times, I'm completely powerless. That a powerless lady witch like you possesses a power none can approach is what's truly terrifying. What? Are you just like... Since you look exactly like Rika, does she have Rika's power? Where she can just turn back the clock? She looks like Rika Furude, right? This is the, these are the PlayStation sprites. Or PlayStation style sprites, so that's the hair color is not completely off. As the PlayStation sprites leaned towards the blue instead of the purple. After all, the great witch Lady Lambda Delta was dethroned by you alone. I guess we're gonna see Lambda Delta at some point. I only won an endurance contest. She looks super dead inside, yeah. Her sprite is like, I'm bored, please leave me alone. But for some reason, she shows up here. She simply got tired. That's not what Lady Lambda Delta said. Too much humility can be unseemly, Lady Burncastel. It looks like Rika, man. That girl has a dreadful power. The power to kill an individual without fail. However, without fail doesn't exist in this world. No matter how many times you divide 1, you can never reach 0. I see. That girl has... That girl has the power to bring the odds of failure to almost exactly 0, the power to give rise to almost perfect certainty. I hope I never have to fight such a terrifying witch again. She has the ability to increase her probability of success to like 0.99. However, you have the power to cause success without fail as long as the odds are not 0. So in other words, Rika would win. Although you say without fail doesn't exist, you possess an infallible power yourself. Sort of. Not very terrifying. The ability to grant yourself a success if there's a chance of success. The power to kill an individual endlessly. I think you're the more terrifying one? Really? You jest? From your point of view, mine is but a trifling power. This is certainly what someone would call empty praise. Call it flattery to make up for the cost of staying here. What, because you don't have your own place, Rika? I am a fleeing traveler who crosses the fragments, continually running from boredom. I came around because I heard you started something interesting. I have no doubts I'll choose to leave as soon as you're no longer interesting. Well, at least this dialogue's starting off interesting. The previous tea party started out with us retreading the same argument that we'd seen 4 or 5 times in the main story, another 3 times, which felt like they were just stalling ultra hard to make the game seem longer. Who would guess? Yeah, who would guess the Burncastel has the same voice actor as Rika? No way. Hi, Beatrice. I'm deeply and humbly delighted to have the great Lady Burncastel as an observer. Well, she'll stick around for a while. Your impressions? Ah, okay. Lambda Delta's terrifying because of her cruelty, but she's a girl, I can understand. You're capable of affection, but I can't understand you at all. Makes me more terrifying. She has yet to wrap her head around you. Okay. I guess we'll see in these conversations maybe what rules define Beatrice, or maybe we'll be informed by the game's arcs, and then have like a post-game discussion where we learn more about her. That might be interesting. You're fickle by nature. Do forgive. I believe you also enjoy trusting your fate to the roll of the dice, right, Lady Burncastel? Seems to be so. Seems to be so. When I roll the dice, I have a roll I clearly want to get. Unlike you. She's just rolling for the sake of rolling them? You, on the other hand, never let the dice fall from your hand. Whatever roll the roll might have been, you're never disappointed because you're always in control. I see. Whatever the dice show you, you're satisfied without fail. In that sense, you far surpass me. Okay, I see. You're the only one I don't want to fight with, and you're here because... Inside of you, there's nothing but 0. And that's why I can't win against you with my power. I see. It's the worst compatibility. The voices are barely audible above the organs playing. Perhaps Lambda Delta, on the other hand, has a good compatibility against you. Since she would be able to kill your endless nature. Lambda Delta is clearly still around, so maybe we'll see Lambda Delta in a later one of these. Witches truly are the best people to enjoy black tea with. I mean, the Witches' Tea Party in ReZero was pretty good. It was fun. One doesn't get bored. I dare say that one was more interesting than this one has been so far. But hey, this one's not too bad. Then I'm relieved. Boredom's the only poison that'll kill me. Oh, don't kill me, please. You need Burn Castell's power of miracles to make the gacha much easier? That'd be nice. Lady Beatrice, Endless Witch. If such is your wish, I, Beatrice, shall show you an even better time. In that case, wouldn't it be best if I brought the next chessboard in right away? Probably. Indeed. Seems the next tale would do more for you than another cup of black tea. Please wait just a moment. If this ends this quickly, that'd be nice too. Something troublesome seems to have taken a liking to you. It would seem to be the case. I'd like to lend you my power, but as you've heard, that girl's power and mine have bad compatibility, unfortunate though it may be. Oh, okay. You're pitiful, so I'll help you out a bit. That's the girl? Okay. She has the name Beatrice, but that doesn't necessarily mean she is one individual woman. You know what I mean? Okay. In other words, she's not human. Her existence is a personification of the rules of this world. Okay. To beat her, you have to expose the rules of this world and unravel them. So we're structuring ourselves more and more in the vein of the previous title, I see. Except we're exposing that goal earlier, which is fair because I feel like we didn't even explore half the setting in the first arc for this game. Which is kind of annoying. I prefer when I get more of a complete story, and I feel like the story was only like half done in this first chapter or arc. So I can see why they bundled all of these together, because the game seems very incomplete once you finish the first arc. It doesn't feel like you got through a complete story. Like you watch like the first half of a two-parter episode, and you're like, "Where's the second part? This doesn't make a lot of sense." And it doesn't feel very satisfying to reach the end, whereas say like Stay Night or Chaos Child, although they have many routes, you can finish the route and feel like you got a complete story and stop just there without any bad feelings, or you can keep going on and explore the later routes. Perhaps it can be likened to learning the rules of chess by watching a game. I wasn't listening closely enough to the Japanese because of how loud the organ is. I'm curious if they said shogi again, because they've done that a couple times where they made a reference to shogi, and in the translation it said chess, and it was explicitly shogi. Sounds like they're talking about chess, possibly because a chessboard is visible above us, with the same screenshot as from the first arc. Alright, take a look at the chessboard, yep. And then the movements. Rolls of the pieces. Look for the conditions required to win at her game. When you've managed to reveal all these things, their heart will be exposed. After that, rip it apart or crush it as you please. Thanks. You're being generous. I suppose you are. In the past, when I had a human body, it took me 100 years to notice this much. Ah, okay. So she's not only using Rika's references, but she's basically claiming she is Rika. Okay. This is my meager farewell gift to you, pitiful one, captured by Bito. Like a spoon. Spoon can be used for more than just drinking soup. True. A creative person can use it to dig through the prison they're locked in, or as a weapon to gouge the witch's eyes out. Of course, you can also use it to continually sip the watery soup inside your eternal cell. You could also use it as a really, really shallow bucket to try and move water from one place to another. Don't get the wrong idea, I have no intention of becoming your ally. I see. You feel empathy for me, but you won't help me? Like I'm sitting in front of you on the TV, yelling at you on the other side, even though my voice won't reach you? I see. Being about as useful as Hanyu. Alright. You understand I'm a witch, right? I intend to enjoy this endless tale of Bito is going to weave until I tire of it. Ooh, you won based or cringe. Nice. That alone won't hold my interest. That's why I'll lend you my power. Okay. I see. It's all so I don't get tired of this. I'm the cruelest witch in the world. Whoever the opponent may be, I'll make them surrender with certainty. Even if it's Beatrice, the endless witch, okay? You're my game piece, and we're gonna fuck with Beatrice? Alright. Give it your best shot. I'll give you advice sometimes. Get out of her sight. Okay. Don't bore her, though. She didn't even smile for her giggle. Come on. One sprite. One sprite. Not even a face change. Oof. Not even a face change to a sinister laugh. Or a cheerful giggle. Just the same sprite. But on the right side of the screen. Very complicated. Thanks. New game board, next episode lock removed. Another new feature on the title screen. Okay. That was nice and short. I like that better than the Tea Party. Although the Tea Party had some good stuff at the end, the first Tea Party had like a lot of really boring scenes in it. That was kind of nice. I didn't feel like the game was wasting my time at any point. It was kind of going through a discussion, but it was a discussion we hadn't had before. Are we getting a new background for the main menu? Oh, we are. This time it's gonna be an aquarium, a large aquarium, if the appearances are accurate. Look at the size of this thing. If those are like support poles for like those things that are supposed to stop people from moving forward, or at least indicate people shouldn't go closer, that's a pretty damn big aquarium. Nice. And I like how the menu is... I like how the details of the menu, like this flowering arrangement, are integrated into all the buttons as well as the pattern for the logo. That's really cool. Makes me want to see them expand it more. I don't know if we'll get any more after this though, because I think this one had like a list of tea parties per episode, so we're probably going to get just like another one of the same menu. But it'd be kind of cool, right? Okay, so if we start off, we're going to get into chapter 2. Let's see. The first one said, Welcome to Rockinjima, and it's titled The Legend of the Golden Witch. The second one, The Turn of the Golden Witch. Good morning, the Golden Witch eagerly awaits your arrival. Please do grant her that wish. Were you able to get a good rest and perfect your strategy? The witch expects a lot from you, and it's more than ready to launch an assault right from the start. I look forward to seeing your strategy. The difficulty is extreme. The witch intends to make you surrender all at once. Really? It says it's more difficult. Alright. Let's see what Beatrice can throw at us. Can she be more overwhelming than her last version? This story is fictional and fantastic in nature. Resemblance to existing individuals, organizations, locations, or incidents is purely coincidental. Thanks, game. George, please look. Ah, Shannon and George. We're starting off at what? An aquarium? Or are they looking at animals while they're on the beach? Guess we'll see. They're cute. Look, look. Careful. Manta rays killed Steve Irwin. They'll certainly kill you. Shannon found a pair of hammerhead sharks swimming playfully in the tank. Hammerhead sharks, not a lot safer than manta rays. And she looked excited as a grade schooler seeing an aquarium for the first time. Shannon's got a nice new outfit this time around, as you can see. Looks like a casual dress or outfit. Like she's got a casual brown dress with like a white blouse on underneath. Seems nice. And Shannon, man, Shannon has no maidens yet again. She's excited as a grade schooler seeing an aquarium for the first time. This sounds good. And George! The casual outfit with dog tags. Seems weird, but alright. Yeah, they are cute. Almost wants me to eat them. Makes me want to eat them. I'd feel sorry for them too. You know? I hear the Japanese are the only people in the world who go to aquariums and say how delicious everything looks. I don't know if that one's true. But what the heck, Shannon? Is that what Japanese people do at the aquariums? Instead of saying they look pretty, they just say they look delicious? A little bit unusual. And I didn't get that impression from watching, what's it called? That one anime, Aquatope on White Sand, about managing an aquarium. Didn't get that impression from them. But seems like that's what Shannon's like, at least. Is that so? Even George seems unconvinced. It must just be Shannon. I'm sure even Americans and Italians would want to eat oh, good lord. I thought he was going to be like, oh, that's weird. No, he's actually saying that, yeah, everyone would want to eat hammerhead sharks when they see them in an aquarium. Yeah, those clothes look good on you. Oh, George is just agreeing with her and flirting with her. Okay, we see what his goals are. They look good on you? Really? Shannon clutched at her chest with both hands in embarrassment. He apparently felt like she was being made fun of for wearing these clothes she wasn't used to. Though George's face didn't show it, he'd actually said something so completely unexpected it surprised even him. He was as embarrassed as Shannon was on the inside. However, when he saw how embarrassed she was, he started to imagine he was teasing a girl he liked, and instead of embarrassment, a ticklish amusement welled up within him. Ah, this is where you left off on your read-through, Umineko. So we're gonna surpass your position. Or at least match it. He wasn't imagining. He really was just teasing the girl he liked. Before now, he wouldn't have expected to hear a line like that anywhere these days, not even in a manga or something. In fact, if he'd seen another couple acting like this, his first instinct would be to start throwing rocks at them. Nice guy. Even if someone were to start throwing rocks at us now, I'm sure they'd be no different than confetti celebrating our relationship. This guy's got confidence, and my first thought was, so you want to kill anyone who has a nice relationship with someone else? Like, that seems unnecessary, but here we are. Now I can't even remember those lonely days. When I felt jealous of couples who were completely oblivious to their surroundings. To use an old-fashioned phrase, those really are rose-colored days I'm living in. I'm so entranced I barely notice the massive tank in the world's largest aquarium anymore. Instead, all I see are the expressions flitting across Shannon's face as she plays with the fish. Don't tap the glass. It's amazing, isn't it? My first time seeing a tank large enough for a whale to swim in. That is a pretty big tank. I heard the tank is the biggest selling point here. It's the biggest in the world. Oh, that's cool. That's so? Yeah, that is kind of amazing. I'm not a big aquariums guy, but that does sound impressive. Aquariums are kind of nice to go through at least once. It doesn't look like a tank at all. More like they sliced off a part of the sea with a knife and brought it here. I assure you, the sea is not nearly so densely populated. Well, I mean, there's a lot of life in coral reefs, but I don't know if there's this much life. I feel like when they make displays in aquariums and stuff, they probably overcrowd them so that people can always see stuff instead of seeing lots of nothing. Really is a little sea. Despite its size, I hadn't thought of the tank as anything more than a tank. That's why I found her metaphor so interesting. No matter how far humans broaden their experiences, they always end up viewing the world through the lens of their own values. Maybe that's why it's so interesting to interact with people who have different worldviews. I voiced my thoughts on this, and she responded, True, it may not be the real sea. But if those little guys swimming there believe it, then I suppose that's what it is. I have not thought of it that way before. Okay. Even though they're in a finite tank, the ocean is finite, my friend. The sea is finite too. See? Shannon gets it. And again, even were the sea infinite, they can't see all of it anyway. Oh, she's gonna say, how much could we cover in our whole lives? It'd only be a minuscule fraction of the sea. Well, if the sea was infinite, yes, it would by definition never be more than a small fraction. You're right. Ironic, isn't it? Though the world is vast, most of us humans live our lives without ever leaving our own country. Be for yourself, I suppose. I guess it's just because Japan, you need to take a plane to leave your country that it's pretty hard, as you're an island. But I think a lot of people live their lives and leave the country they're in, even if it's only for a short break or a short vacation or something like that. Like, I can't imagine someone living in Vatican City and never leaving it for their whole life, when it's literally like 10 steps to get out of the country. Or, in a less ridiculous case, a lot of small European countries seem like they'd be really easy to leave at some point. If the inhabitants of a place believe they're living in a complete world, then even the bottom of a narrow well can be a wonderful world, an entire ocean, at least to the frogs that live there. Shannon, who spent her days as a servant on a small island 10 kilometers in circumference called Rockinjima, said that with a smile. I guess she's like, yeah, your world can be complete even if it's as small as a well, if that's what you believe the world is. Alright. Urn of the Golden Witch. We got a title drop for the arc. Okay. Oh, looks good. Turn of the Golden Witch. Cheer me up. Okay, we're getting credits. I'm not touching anything right now. This is how it's auto-playing. You don't tell me. You don't say. The Ashiromiyas are here. A few more Ashiromiyas. Guess what I'm betting we're going to see next? Ashiromiya? Looks like we've seen a few new backgrounds. I'm curious if we're going to get to see any of those. More than I'm curious. Like, are we going to actually use this one? I assume we will. So this means we might be exploring the island in this arc. As a few of these shots have not been used yet. So it might be a bit of a hint of like what scenes we've yet to see, or what new scenes we'll see in this arc that we didn't in the last. And another new background. Alright, we started with the aquarium and now we're going somewhere else. Okay. After we finished walking through the whole aquarium, we had a small late afternoon lunch at a restaurant with a nice view. So I assume this is like a flashback. And then we're going to start back on the island. That's how I'm thinking things are going to go. The word buffet has the power to make any boy's heart leap. Buffets are nice. I was like that myself once. But with Shannon beside me, the buffet felt different. I couldn't shamefully pile on only the things I liked. Wait, why not? I was... How do I put it? Worried about my appearance and chose a menu suited for a snob. It's a buffet. Toast, salad, and a coffee. If it had been by myself, I would have made a pile of oily stuff like yakisoba, mashed potatoes, gratin, and so on. Shannon, is that going to be enough for you? If it is, I guess we're animals with really bad fuel efficiency. That's not what I... On Shannon's tray, there was only tea and salad. She's on a diet, I guess. Maybe the mere fact I thought she was a whole plate short proved I was thinking with a man's stomach. I should be asking you the same thing. Shouldn't men eat a bit more than that? I imagine you normally eat much more for lunch, right? Right? How is George supposed to get away with this? Shannon literally serves him breakfast, lunch, and dinner. How on earth does she not know what he eats, or how much he eats at this point? Like, what are you trying to do, George? You can fool some woman you've never met while you're on a date, but you certainly can't fool Shannon, who's with a maid at your grandparents' house and has seen how much you eat. A little bit late for that, right?
しまった。そうか。
Oh, right. Dang. Yeah, good luck, dude.
シャノンには僕が本家で昼食を取るときどれくらい食べてるのかバレてるんだったね。
Oh, right, dang. Come to think of it, you already know how much I eat normally because of meals I've had at the head family household. Yeah. What were you thinking, dude?
はい。
That's right.
だから今日はお腹の具合でも悪いのかと思いました。
I was worried you might have an upset stomach today. Shannon was kind enough to guess I wasn't feeling well. He's nervous. Just say it's nerves, dude. Looks like my stupid attempt to show off made her worry. Apparently my stomach wasn't going to let me show off any longer either.
いやもう白状するよ。
Alright, I confess.
ついついカッコつけちゃってね。
I was trying to look cool.
女の子と一緒だからって遠慮しちゃって。
I held back because I was with a girl.
だと思いました。
I thought so.
親族会議でのお昼の食べっぷりから考えて、それではとても足りないと思
Considering
い
how
ま
much
した
you eat
ので。
during lunch at the family conferences, I thought this wasn't nearly enough. I mean, you don't need a big meal. What did he say? Coffee, salad, and some toast? He has like 2 or 3 pieces of toast. I don't think that's completely unreasonable. Not very filling long term though.
遠慮なさらずに、どうぞもう一皿を取りに行ってきてくださいな。
My real question is though, why on earth would you why on earth would you go to a buffet and then only take salad? Salad's like really cheap. Like imagine going to a buffet. They go in and it's like $30 per, it's like $35 per seat. And you're like, okay, $70. Sounds good. You go to the buffet and you pour yourself a cheap coffee, which you have to make yourself, and then you get a salad from the salad bar. And that's all you get. It's like, for fuck's sake, you could probably have gotten the salad for $3.95. Like at any restaurant, it would have been just as much food. And toast too. Like as I recall, I think I could order toast. I think I could actually order toast from my university. One of my universities, like in dorm like restaurants, and it was like $2 for 2 slices or something like that. Like this guy just spent like $70 on $10 worth of food. And that's all they're having. What a waste of money. What a waste. Oh well, he's rich. Just goes to show how rich he is, right? They go to a buffet and they just take a small salad. They're like, fuck money. They're like, I have money to throw around. I can spend $70 on a salad. Oh, well, yes, you could have also gotten a giant tub of salad greens and a salad kit that could feed you for a day. That's also true, but I think it's more intelligent to say, like, what could he have gotten instead of spending the buffet? And, like, you could probably spend, like, $10 at, like, any restaurant. Maybe, like, $10 and get a good amount of salad. Like, it's way cheaper to just go to a restaurant and order a salad. Than order a buffet. Go to a buffet and take one thing. Because the only way you're, like, getting efficient at a buffet is if you order several plates and you have to take more of the expensive stuff. Like rice is like pennies on the dollar. Like an entire plate of rice probably costs like at the store $1. Pre-made salads in a supermarket, yeah, that might work. Yeah, you're supposed to get seafood, roasts, like the high-end meals, and you're supposed to order a lot of food if you're getting a buffet. It's mostly just a lot of food, and it has to be like relatively expensive. And the sushi. I swear to God, every time I get like all you can eat sushi or whatever, I swear they start slicing pieces smaller the more you order. I swear. The sushi is suspect. But hey, yeah. Sushi is decent, and you can probably, if you eat a lot of sushi, you can probably eat your money's worth. If nothing else, you'll probably eat your money's worth at an all-you-can-eat sushi place because when you order sushi a la carte, it's insanely expensive. Like it's like, okay, like an entire set of maki is like $30. I did the math. Last time I ate all-you-can-eat sushi for like equivalents from an a la carte menu, I think I ate like $100 in food myself. Like $100 in sushi if I'd ordered it from an a la carte place. I mean, just ordering like, I think I had like 16, I think I had like, what, 10, 12 pieces of sashimi? And like, I don't know, like 4 nigiri, and then like a shit ton of, I have like a shit ton of clams, and a few other things. Buffets in Japan range from 1.9k to 3k yen. Yeah, $30. Yeah, that's what I said, $30. 3k yen's about $30. Not 1.9k is pretty cheap though. Don't think I've ever seen a $20. I don't think I've ever seen a $20 buffet in real life. They're always like 30 or more. It's like $20 is like this price of like an app. Is like the price of an actual meal, right? Buffets are always on the more expensive end of like a restaurant meal. Like if a restaurant entree, if your average entree, like not including steak or ribs, like your average cheap entree is like 15, 16 bucks with fries, and then you add like a drink or something, get like 18, 20 plus tax. Then buffets are always more expensive. They're usually around like the price of a steak, right? Usually like around the price of an okay steak. Or like the ribs or something like that. That'd be like, it's like more expensive than that, so. Anyway, price is not super relevant though. Although 1.9k or 2k yen seems like ridiculously cheap. I'd be like, are you sure? Are you sure? Because 17's like 1.9k is pretty cheap for a buffet. I don't know. Feel free to choose an ice. It doesn't matter though. We know George is loaded. It's not fair for only me to be embarrassed. What about you, Shannon? How do you keep up with the Ashiramiya family workload on such a sparse diet? Women have their ways. Shannon fell silent and blushed bright red. Apparently I wasn't the only one showing off. When I realized that, my embarrassment disappeared completely. Oh, so that's not enough for you either, is it? You usually eat a bit more than this for lunch too. A woman's stomach is made of magic. This is enough. So we've been showing off to each other. I see, I see. Women's stomachs are magic. Writing that down. You gotta write that down. Women's stomachs are magic, so this is enough. That's your response if anyone ever questions that. How much you're eating. So we've both been showing off to each other. Let's not hold back anymore, shall we? I smiled to show I wouldn't make fun of her anymore and rose to my seat. After finally coming to Okinawa, it'd be a waste if we didn't eat some bitter melon. I'll go get some fried bitter melon or something. Alright, Shannon, come on with me. Come on, come on. Yeah. To anyone watching us, we might seem like an incredibly charming and embarrassing couple. Shannon does your strat, taking less so you can take the food of your date. But that strategy is incredibly ineffective in buffets. At buffets, like, why would you? Why, it's so ineffective at a buffet because then you just have to go back for more. And it's doubly ineffective when your boyfriend just gets salad as well, and it's like, we both got salad. I can't steal salad. I already have salad. That must be why she's trying to get him to get more food. She's like, I can't steal any. All you have is more salad. George is the pure definition of your life is a lie. It's only after becoming a couple you realize, to us, this exchange of words is everything, our entire world. That's why no matter how much everyone else stares at us with blank expressions we never notice. Indeed, at this age, I finally understand the feelings of couples who want to endlessly flirt without any regard to their surroundings. After a return with a plate piled up with fried food, Shannon arrived with a pretty cake. While laughing at our fake stoicism, we resumed our lunch. That's right. He gets real food, and she's just like, I'm getting a fucking cake. An entire cake. Even though it's a restaurant with a view of the sea, it's so cloudy. Luckily, our our window seats gave us a view of the seaside scenery so grandiose it extends beyond our field of vision. However, because of the cloudy sky, we were only seeing a fraction of its usual beauty. That's right. If it were clear, we'd undoubtedly see a deep blue sea. I'll bet you're already used to the sea around Rokkenjima, but the deep blue of the sea here would surely have been a sight to see. It's a real shame. No matter how blue the sea is at work, it might as well be grey to me. I'm not working today, so Apparently Shannon was doing her best to say an embarrassing line, but I didn't let her get off easy. So close. If only you had said, when watching the sea alone with you, George-sama, it looks deep blue no matter how great it is. I'd have given you full marks and a prize. Sorry. Want to hear what the prize was? Do I want to hear the prize? If you don't mind telling me? Nope. I won't tell you. What? What? He's not going to tell us the prize? That's rude. That's no fair. When I was in elementary school, I was always the kid who got bullied. When everyone teased me, I grew nervous and speechless to the delight of the bullies. And back then, I wondered why everyone teased me. But now, teasing Shannon like this, I can kind of understand why. It's so much fun. I can play with her emotions whoever I please, and I can have them all to myself. Right now, I can't think of any greater pleasure. That's why I have to go easy on her. It's not as though I want to make her feel embarrassed and upset. So I decided to be nice and change the subject. Best to not be too obstinate. When you finished your lunch, do you want to take a walk on the beach? Maybe the clouds will clear up. We'll get a beautiful view of the sea. Maybe. That's right. I want to go see it. All right. Let's go. Let's do it. What they're gonna do it? But that cake really does look delicious. Maybe I'll get one of those too. You mustn't. What? We can't eat any cake? If you eat cake after eating so much, you'll get fat? Oh, merciless. She's already met your parents. Oh. It looks like Hideyoshi-sama's blood is thick in you, George. You'll get chubby if you don't take care. Oh. No cake for us, apparently.
じゃあシャノンは僕がおデブになったら嫌いになっちゃう？
Shannon, you won't stop liking me if I get fat.
In back how how.
In back, how. Welcome back, how. Surely that couldn't have been Xenon subscribing to us. It had to have been someone else. Someone named how. 12 months. It's the 12 months anniversary. Oh boy. Today really is a special day, isn't it? A 12-month anniversary for someone who's a how fan, which is conveniently also the day that she's on Rate Up in game. Curious how that goes, isn't it? Will she stop liking us if we get fat? Well, she's probably gonna say no.
僕はたとえシャノンがおデブになっちゃっても嫌いにならないよ。
I wouldn't stop liking you if you got fat.
そういう意味じゃなくて。
I don't know what kind of fat they're thinking of, but when they say fat, what I see is like that 600-800-pound land whale. You know, the kind that needs like a mobility scooter to get more than 5 feet. That's what I think of when I think of overweight.
ちゃんと体を気遣わないと健康にって。
If you don't take good care of your body, it'll be bad for your health. Chubby is already fat in Asia. I know, but that's what I think of when I see fat. When someone says fat, I'm like, dear God. It's like, dear God, please lose a couple pounds. How did you let it get this bad?
母さんにもよく注意されるよ。
We aren't going with American standards. But we already use them for so many other things. Other ones we
や
all
っ
the
ぱり
time
僕
too.
も太極拳とかを始めて運動しないとダメかな。
I wonder I'll have to take up Tai Chi Quan or something like that, like she does, and get some exercise.
ダイエットは無茶な運動よりも食生活の見直しから始めた方がいいんですよ。
And going on a diet, it's better to start by rethinking your eating habits rather than just exercising all the time. Wait, Germany is the most obese country in Europe and not the UK? Not Britain / not specifically England? Damn.
その上で運動を重ねないと効果が出ないんだそうです。
Yeah, I think Shannon's right. When going on a diet, it's better to start by rethinking your eating habits rather than just exercising all the time. Apparently, the exercise only helps if you're eating well first. And it also helps to reestablish eating habits if they're what caused it in the first place, because then you won't build more fat. How can it be England if they have no enjoyable food? This much is true. This much is true. Congratulations on surviving, based or cringe on Mythic Stream. How can it be English if they have no enjoyable food? I don't know, but somehow Gordon Ramsay's British. And he learned to cook. Wait, did he learn to cook in France? Maybe that's why he's famous. They certainly have food, it's just nothing too crazy. And the actual English stuff is pretty bland. That's why they went and conquered the whole world, because they were looking for real food, but it turns out they actually just really like bland stuff. They looked for all the spices and said, these are too spicy for me. They looked at flour and said, do you have something a little more bland? My palate can't quite take it. After all, that's how the English are, right? Flour is quite a spice. After all, if you weren't aware, there is or used to be a sizable portion of sawdust in bread. Yes, bread additives. Wonderful stuff. Sawdust and other assorted materials to pad the weight of the bread. Yeah, I wouldn't look forward to eating bread in the 16th century or whatever it was. Alright. Yeah, but Shannon's right. Look at if you're getting overweight, you should probably first look at why you got overweight in the first place and fix it, because exercise only works while you're exercising. You'll regain all that weight the minute you stop, that is.
つまりそれはデザートのケーキは控えろってことだね。
In other words, you're just telling me to hold off on the cake?
じゃあ仕方ないから、シャノンがそのケーキを頬張るところを眺めていてあげるよ。
Then I'll have to gaze at you while you stuff your cheeks with it, Shannon.
その
Quick, George, recover! Say they're cute cheeks. No, does that work?
ケー
Does
キ
that work?
丸々一つはさすがに食べ
A
過ぎだと思
whole
いま
cake is
す
probably
け
too
ど
much. Yeah,
半
probably.
分くらいだったら大丈夫かもしれません
Ooh, but half of one would be okay. And what did Shannon bring? But a whole cake. She's like, oh, a whole cake might be too much for me, but you know, maybe we could split this. That might be
これ
okay.
本当に美味しいんですよ
Here, it's really delicious. Oh my god, is she offering you a mouthful of cake on a fork now? On her fork? You're getting that indirect kiss that all the anime boys are and girls are excited by? Shannon cut her own cake and tried to move half to my dessert plate. Nope, she's less exciting than that. I had no doubt that she wanted to share the delicious cake's flavor with me. However, I meanly pulled my plate away from her. She blinked in surprise, and she couldn't seem to figure out if I was refusing the cake or not, so I winked, opened my mouth, and said, ah.
それが一番したかったんです
So
ね
that's what you wanted.
もうジョージ様は甘えん坊です
You're such a pampered child, George.
はい
Okay.
あー
Say ah. With a partly embarrassed, partly exasperated face, she offered the cake to me with a fork. See, I told you, that's what we were going for. Chomp. It tasted like a cheap chocolate cake you might find anywhere. And yet it was exceptional, because eating cake in such an embarrassing way, as if we were a couple of perfect fools, had been my dream for many years. It made this cake's flavor heavenly. If the earth is destined to end, I wouldn't have any regrets if it happened right now. It's such a moment of bliss. And we're on the sea. Looks like the clouds haven't quite yet parted. After that, we gathered shells, ran from waves, and enjoyed each other's company while walking along the beach. In the end, the clouds never parted. However, we both believed the sea reflected in our eyes was a deep blue.
なんだか幸せすぎて
Somehow I'm so...
怖くなります
You're so happy it scares you. Well, that's good.
たまに言うね。
You say that from time to
何
time.
を怖がることがあるんだい
But what are you afraid of?
私後ろ宮家にお仕えする使用人です
I'm a servant of the Ishiromiya family.
そんな私が後ろ宮家に連なる方とこうしてご一緒してるなんて
For someone like me to be walking like this with a member of the family.
その
Um,
過ぎたことのように思えて
it felt like it was too much for me.
僕もびっくりしてるよ。
I'm also surprised. Well, he's interacting with you a lot.
シャノンちゃんと出会ったのは昨日今日のことじゃない。
I'm also surprised I didn't just meet you yesterday or today,
何年も
Shannon-chan.
前から面識もある。
We've known each other for years now.
でも年に何度もない親族の会合の席で挨拶をするだけ。
However, we can only meet during those family meetings that only happen a few times a year.
そんな君とこうして一緒に過ごせる関係になるなんて全然想像できなかったよ。
And back then, I couldn't imagine having this sort of relationship where I could spend time with you like this.
それはシャノンもでしょ。
It was the same for you, right?
私は
I...
その
ん
想像だけは
I
してました
did imagine.
いえその
I mean...
想像というよりはその妄想みたいなもので
kind of daydream?
いつも紳士的で思いやりのあるジョージ様とご縁があったらなって
She did think about what it would be like being in a relationship with us, a boy who is always gentlemanly and considerate.
その妄想してただけで
Although it was only ever a fantastic daydream.
じゃあ僕たちの縁は君のその信じた心のおかげだね。
Then we must have your believing heart to thank for our relationship. I see. Her believing heart is what led to the relationship.
思
Okay.
う力には魔法が宿るんだよ。
Magic dwells in the power of love. Beatrice has entered the chat.
だからその魔法がきっと僕らを巡
I'm
り合
sure
わせてくれ
magic
た。
brought us together. So,
そうですね。
I wonder if George is... So, do you think both of these people live, or if George dies on this route or something? I'm curious to see which different people die when we start this route.
多
Right?
分きっと
I really think it was magic.
本当に魔法だったんだと思います。
でもね、そんなことはないんだよ。
You know, that's not actually
僕の
true,
中
right?
でも毎年出会うたびに美しく見違えていった君の存在はとても大きくなっていた。
As you keep looking more and more beautiful every year, you become a larger and larger presence in my mind, too. A larger and larger presence. I see, George, I see.
そして君にとっての僕も同じものだとしたなら、
The same thing happened to you?
今日ここに僕らがあることは必然の結果であって魔法や奇跡なんかじゃないのさ。
If the same thing happened to you, then the fact that we're here today is simply an inevitable consequence rather than something caused by magic or a miracle.
ううん
No?
奇跡はあったんです。
A miracle did
ジョー
happen.
ジ様。
Oh? She stopped walking down the beach, gazing out beyond the sea.
奇跡？
A miracle, you said?
魔法
Magic.
あったんです。
It happened. I was bewildered by that slightly mysterious phrase which I sometimes heard her
魔
use.
法が
Magic, you say?
はい魔法です。
Yup, magic.
言っても信じてくれないでしょうから。
I doubt you'd believe me if I explain, so I won't. Is it Beatrice's magic?
でも確かにその魔法には私とジョージ様を巡り合わせてくれ
But
る
this bit of magic definitely had the power to grant the miracle that brought us together. Okay. Hmm.
それは
You're
何
talking
か
about
の
some kind of
お
ritual?
まじないのこと？
そうですね
Yep.
そういうものの類かもしれません。
Something like that.
一つ違うのはおまじないなんか
This
じゃな
really
く
was magic? Not some weird ass
本当
ritual?
の魔法だ。
ふーん。
Oh. Maybe it's all girls, not just Shen, who tend to treat encounters as miracles or coincidences. For a man like me, an encounter with a girl is 70% hard work to try and make her like you, 20% courage, and 10% coincidence. The part that means everything to her is a much smaller factor in my mind. Maybe that way of thinking is itself is calculating and typical of men. But if I said that out loud, it might dissolve all kinds of magic. And is there something wrong with being an anti-mage? To my mind, there's lots of coincidences, compromises, and expended effort on both sides before we gain the relationship we had today. At the culmination of all that, we get to spend this joyful time together, and if she wants to call that magic, I got no objections to her choice of words. So I'll stand up for that
そうだ
magic.
ね。同じ運命を100回繰り返したら、僕と君がこういう関係になる結果は一度しか起こらないものだった
If
かも
the
しれない
same
ね。
fate were to repeat 100 times, we could only get into a relationship like this one of those times. You really think so, George?
互いを意識し合いながらも、僕たちは他人行儀な関係を今も続けてい
In
たか
other
もしれない。
instances, even though we'd be aware of each other, maybe we'd only maintain a reserved relationship after all this time. Very curious. We're in Arc 2, right? So this is we're in 2 of 2 scenarios where that's actually true. So far, at least. They're in a relationship in both of them.
そんなよその世界の僕らから見れば、今の僕たちはまさに奇跡のような関係に違い
From
な
the
いだろ
perspective
うか。
of other me's and you's, you and I are undoubtedly in a miraculous relationship right now. Well, so far that doesn't seem to be the case, George.
そういうのじゃなくて
That's not what I meant.
本当に魔法なんです。
It really was magic.
男の方にいくら言ってもこういうのは信じてもらえないんでしょう
No matter how often you tell men something like this, they'll never believe it.
か。カノン君も全然信じてくれませ
Cannon
んし。
didn't believe me at all either. Oh, Cannon didn't. Okay.
信じるよ。
George does?
僕が信じなくて魔法が解けたら嫌
I'd
だ。
hate for the magic to fade away like because I didn't believe in it. Can I look at the characters here? Okay. I was gonna say, a certain someone got everyone killed by destroying the magic because they didn't believe in it. So, yes, it's possible. It's very possible for that to happen in this setting.
ジョージ様。
George. In a small voice, I apologize for saying something that trivialized her magic. Shannon seemed to be glad to hear me say that. After all, if two people believe in magic and the power of love, it becomes eternal. Interesting.
そうそう。
Right.
僕からわがままが一つあるんだけど、聞いてもらえないかな。
I was wondering if you'd be willing to agree to a little whim of mine.
はい。何でしょうか。
What is it?
そのジョージ様って呼び方、
You call me George-sama, right?
嫌い
Here
じ
we
ゃな
go.
いけど、もうなしにしないかい？
It's not that I dislike it, but would you consider not calling me that anymore?
もちろん後ろ宮家では対面もあるだろうから、六軒島での普段まで強制はしないよ。
Of course, you do have to keep up appearances with the Ishirimiya family, so I wouldn't force you to do so during your everyday routine on
で
Rockin'
も二人きりの時はなし
Jima.
に
We're
しよ
alone, though. I'd prefer if you didn't call me that. Oh, what would you
う。
prefer?
そういうルールにしよ
Yeah, let's make that a rule.
ルールですか。
A rule?
もし破ったらどうなるんでしょう。
What would happen if I violated that rule?
う。そうだね。
Ooh, she's tempting. She's tempting you. She's like, ooh, what would happen if I violated that rule? It's a rule.
ルール違反には何か罰ゲームがないといけ
Maybe
な
we
い
should
か
have
もし
some
れな
kind
い
of
ね。
punishment game if you break the rule.
そうだな。
What,
何がい
so
い
what
か
should
な。
it be?
聞きたい？
Wanna hear?
いえ、
She
聞
doesn't
きた
wanna
くあり
hear?
ません。
She's not eager to get it. She's not eager to get a paddling or a spanking. All right,
何がいいか、
or to be told that
僕
she's
も
a
考
bad
えてお
girl.
くことにするよ。
I'll have to think about what it should be.
はい。ジョージ
Okay, George.
さん。
George-san.
素敵な響きだね。
I love the way it sounds. She changed from Sama to San.
嬉しいよ。
I love the way it sounds. I'm so
Shannon.
happy. Shannon.
私も、
I also
さよという
have another name. And she just said what it was. It's
名
Sayo.
前があります。
It's Sayo.
そっか。
I see.
ルールはフェアじゃないといけないね。
Rules
僕も
gotta
そ
be
れを
fair.
守って、今から君のことを
I'll follow it.
Sayo
From now on,
と呼ぶこと
I'll
に
call
する
you
よ。
Sayo.
いいね。
Alright?
さよ。
Sayo?
はい。
Game. Can you please change Shannon's name to Sayo? In the dialogue, I held her shoulder and drew her close. When I forcefully pulled her delicate body towards me, she dove into my chest like a doll. As I held her head in my arms, we both looked at the
真
horizon.
っ青な海だね。
The deep blue
この
sea.
海を二人で見られて、
I'm glad we got
と
to
ても
look at it,
嬉しい
just,
よ。
just the two of us.
私もです。この真っ青な海をあなたと
Glad to
二
have
人
the
で見
chance
ることができてとて
to
も
look at
嬉し
this.
いです。
Oh my god, we're stupid. I'm glad to have a chance to look at this deep blue sea with you. As we gazed at the gray sea and a light rain began to sprinkle down, we kept listening to each other's heartbeats. The sound of waves flows into my ears. The sound of an enraged sea. My body, bathed in painfully cold splashes, does not allow me to forget. It won't let me forget the memories of the day my old fate was broken and smashed. Once, tomorrows were literally like looking into a mirror. All I ever saw was the person I already was. Tomorrow was no different from today. That was my old fate. But then for the first time I saw a different fate beyond the mirror. The witch whispers to me. She tempts me to take a bite out of the fruit of knowledge. She torments me, saying, I'll be furniture as long as I stay in God's paradise. So I decided to choose the path of knowing love and tried to become a person. Those days were like... Hold up, can we reread some of this? Interesting. Okay, but at the same time, I didn't realize that they'd be the start of a new kind of suffering. I've arrived at a small island on a motorboat I'd only just learned how to use. This can hardly be called a small island. It's a little more than a rock jutting out of the water. Dude, these guys got some pretty arrogant opinions on what an island is. I stayed on an island for a week. You want to know how big that island was? You could probably shoot a bow and arrow across it, or even throw a football. Fuck, it was tiny. If you were an NFL quarterback, I bet you could throw a football across it. It was like the size of a football field. The entire island. 3 houses. Three huts on an island with a dock. And depending on the time of day, you could comfortably walk to another adjoining island without getting your feet wet. And that was an island. Or I guess in their case, a large sandbar, since they say this 10-kilometer island is little more than a rock jetting out of the water. And I'm like, damn, that's a pretty big place. Their mansion's probably bigger than the island I stayed on. And they're like, this island fucking sucks, it's tiny. On this rock is a torii and a small shrine. It was probably built to worship the guardian deity of Rockenjima. Even though I don't know exactly what it signifies, I know it has to be something holy. Interesting. Haven't seen that before. Even in a place like this, I've got to take one more look around to see if there's anyone who might get mad at me for coming. I see nothing but the stormy ocean, Nijima looming in the distance, and the waves breaking against Rockenjima's steep cliffside. I ready myself, timidly approach the small shrine and take the mirror that lies there as an offering. The mirror looks old, cloudy, and dirty. That would probably make any normal mirror seem horribly cheap. However, since the mirror has been placed in the small shrine, its appearance seems to give it some sort of divine quality. And there's one thing I can tell. It's no simple mirror. It may seem like an old, battered mirror to a non-believer like myself, but it has great significance. Is it really okay to break this after being captivated by honeyed words? This isn't really a mirror. It's the life I couldn't escape until today. My fate. I'll break it. I'll smash it and seize the life that lies beyond this mirror. If I don't smash it, my life will be a pair of facing mirrors forever. Nothing will ever change in the slightest. The witch whispers to me. She tempts me to take a bite of the fruit of knowledge. Or maybe I've already tasted that fruit. After all, I've already experienced those maddening emotions. Just as Adam and Eve felt compelled to pluck their fig leaves, I can no longer go on without breaking this mirror. I've struggled with conflicting emotions for many days before this moment. Inside my heart, the virtuous part of me kept on fighting the part that sides with the witch. And now here I am. Did the part of me that's here right now win or lose? There's only one thing I know. There will be blood shed? Well, that's for real. My bad. Alright. To obtain something, you must be ready to lose something. And cowards who don't risk anything, who never try to change anything, will never be given the key that opens the path to a new future. That key is already in my hands, and that key is to break this. To smash it. Is there any other effort I can make? Is furniture imprisoned in Rockenjima? Imprisoned? Curious. Curious phrase. I thought she was able to leave at any point. Very curious. No. This is the only way for me. Come, have courage. I'll free myself from this mere furniture. From being mere furniture. And by accepting a new kind of suffering, I become human. This is surely a small, yet large trial I must impose on myself. Come on, smash it. I'll smash it to pieces. The eternally unchanging fate that imprisons me. I raise the mirror high. I think back on the days of conflict that came before, and finishing my reflections in the blink of an eye, I throw it away. I throw it down. I threw it on the ground. The thunder roars, crying out against me for my outrageous act. It truly is the hatred of angels trying to banish me from eternal paradise. I look down at the mirror, tumbling at my feet, broken in 2 equal parts. And after making sure I've accomplished my task, I scream up at the raging skies. I kept my promise. Now, it's your turn to keep yours, right? Thunder roars once more. I've already been banished from paradise, so I'll have to struggle on my own if I want to live, the witch told me. That is the single element of this world. To lose it means losing the world, like how a canteen with a hole in the bottom can't be filled no matter how much water you pump into it. I kept my promise. Now it's your turn to keep yours. Grant my wish. Beatrice-sama! We have one more person who says Beatrice. Pity we can't replay that dialogue. Nope. Alright. Beatrice-sama. That was sudden and loud. My ears. I have reduced the volume significantly so it's not deafening, by the way. It is still super loud. Is this the same opening as last time? Welcome to Rockin' Jima. Was that not the same intro as last time? I think there's some minor differences, like the bottle at the end. That might be a new scene, but it seems very similar to the point where I don't recognize the differences. My mind wandered. I don't really recognize like a lot of obvious differences, but it seemed very samey. My mind wandered. Back to days when I could barely imagine the happiness I have now. I was a middle schooler at the time. A normal girl who thought about love as much as you'd expect someone that age. Yeah. But in truth, it was wrong of me to have that dream. After all, I'm furniture. Furniture is nothing more than a tool, not a human. A person less than human simply receiving an education was an enormous blessing. So in reality, even thinking about falling in love was more than I deserved. The school/place Kinzo treats people is a very interesting place. Yoshiromiya Family Conference was a customary event held every October. But relatives sometimes visit other times. Of course, they didn't come just to drink tea. On this day, Ava's family was visiting the head family on Rockin' Jima. 3 members of Krause's family and the 3 members of Ava's family had gathered in the parlor. That's certainly going to be a fun time. They were having a friendly chat about recent events. Friendly, you say? Genji supposedly told Kinzo of Ava's family's arrival, but he still hadn't come down. He was probably immersed in his research and couldn't spare the time. It often happened, so the others waited patiently for their fickle father to arrive. Oh, how promising. Make sure you work hard under your father, building the skills you'll need if you want to lend him a hand soon.
ありがとうございます。今は父の紹介でたくさんの人生の先輩方に本当に貴重な勉強をさせていただいています。
I learned countless precious things from the many experienced people fathers introduced me to.
そのいずれも学校では学べないことばかりです。
For all things I could never have learned in school.
学校で習うのは国語算数やない。
When you're in school, it's not math and language you're
もの
learning.
を学ぶ姿勢と態度を学ぶんや。
They're teaching you the outlook and attitude for learning more. They're also socializing you so you can interact with other people more comfortably.
その基礎ができて、ようやく生涯をかけた勉強が始まるんやで。
Once you got that base, you can finally start a long period of study that'll last your entire life.
ここをな、勘違いしとるやつは、生涯学べん石頭や。
People who don't get this end up spending their whole lives as fools
こ
who
この
never
算数
learn.
で満点取れても、会社じゃ役に立たへん。
Getting full marks in math and language won't do you any good at your company.
全くその通りだよ。
Exactly right.
秀吉さんの教育方針はいつも本当にご立派ですな。
Hideyoshi, your style of education never fails to impress.
ジョージもまだまだ半人前や。
George ain't a full man yet.
それを常に忘れんで、
You better keep
勉
that in
強に
mind.
励むんやで。
And embrace his studies. Embrace the studies.
よしな
In the end,
さい
apparently.
よあなた。
Stop it, dear.
ジョージはいっつも一生懸
George
命
is
頑張
always
ってる
giving
わ
his
よ。
Well, that's confident, isn't it? Right? Right? Sweats nervously.
本当に立派ね。
Truly admirable.
うちのジェシカにも爪の赤を分けても
I
らい
wish
たい
our
わ。
Jessica would learn from him.
ま
Sorry,
だ
Jess.
テストの結果を根に持ってるのかよ。
Are you still holding a grudge about that test
受
score?
験勉強は私なりにやってるって。
I'm studying for tests best I
こ
can.
んな席でまで言うことはねえ
Please
だろ
don't。say it here.
うせえぜ。
Pissing me off. Once people started praising George for his diligence, the conversation usually turns towards Jessica, who hated studying. Studying sucks, I'm with you, Jessica. She made an openly displeased face as though she'd known this would happen.
いや
You probably did. My,
ジェ
my.
シカは勉強と一緒に少しはおしとやかな言葉遣いも学ぶ必要があるんじゃないかな。
Schoolwork aside, it seems Jessica had better learn to choose her words a little more gracefully.
後宮家の家紋を背負う一人娘がそれではみっともないな。
How improper for the single daughter who bears the weight of the Ashiramiya family crest.
あら、これはこれで魅力的よね。
Oh, now she's quite appealing in her own way, isn't she?
時代は変わるのよ。
Times change.
男に食わしてもらうために定宿を装わなくてはならなかった時代はとっくに終わってるんだか
The
ら。
time we had to act all modest to entertain men ended long ago. I don't know about that. I don't know if the Japanese agree with that yet. You don't have to, but I'm pretty sure that seems to lead to success in anime, acting excessively modest, regardless of how aggressive you were 5 minutes ago. Anime's taught me anything. It doesn't matter how aggressive or uncouth maybe a woman is in Japan, but they all become incredibly modest the minute you start going anywhere. You're like, oh, we're hand holding. Suddenly she's super modest, and you're like, okay, well, there goes that. All right.
そうそ
That's right. That's
う。やっ
right.
ぱエヴァおばさんは分かってますね。
I knew you'd understand, Aunt Ava.
今日は頭痛が特にこたえます。
My headache is truly trying today.
大丈夫ですか？
Are you alright?
夏日おばさん、顔色が優れないみたいで
You're
す。
looking a little bit pale, Natsuhi.
ありがとう。大丈夫です。
Thanks, I'm fine.
でも本当に月日が経つのは早いものね。
Still, time really
半
has
ズボン
flown.
姿で浜辺を駆け巡ってずぶ濡れになって帰ってきた日がついこの
It
間のよう
feels
に
like
思いま
just
す。
yesterday when you would run around half naked by the beach and come back soaked.
それはジェシカちゃんも同じよね。
Wasn't your Jessica the same?
今じゃお化粧の仕方にだってこだわるレディーなんだから。
And now she's a lady who fusses over how to put on makeup.
眉にこだわりがあるのね。今日のあなた、とってもキュートよ。
I see you focused on your eyebrows. You look really cute today.
ありがとうございます。
Thanks so much.
誰も気づいてくれなかったんで、自信なくしてたとこです。
No one noticed? I was a bit unsure of myself. A full smile rose to Jessica's face as the results of her own studies were finally appreciated. Ava smiled back in the same way, and then she turned that smile towards Natsuhi.
ダメよ、夏日姉さん。
Come on, Natsuhi-san.
自分のこの小さな変化にも気づかなくちゃ。
You must take notice of small changes in your own
か
child.
わいそうなジェシカちゃん。
Oh, poor Jessica.
一番最初にお母さんに気づいてもらいたかったでしょうに。
Probably wanted your mother to notice
ね
first,
え
didn't you? Aunt Ava
いい
being
です、いいで
venomous
す。
here. No problem, no
あ
problem.
の人、そういうの全然気づかない人なんで。
That person never notices anything. Poor Natsuhi. Bullied here too.
ジェシカ、
Jessica.
母親をあの人呼ばわりとは感心できんね。
I can't condone speaking of your mother in such a fashion.
謝りなさい。
Apologize. But it's true?
言葉遣いについては後でよく言って聞かせます。
Later, I will speak to you at length about your language.
ちぇ、お子様は邪魔だってんならそう言ってくれよ。
If you don't want kids getting in your way, just
私
say
席を
so.
外させてもらうぜ。
I'm stepping outside.
ここは空気がよどんでるぜ。
Chris said it with a smile, right? It's true. He's like, oh man, it's so true, but you're not supposed to say that, right? It's getting stuffy in here.
ジェシカ、
Jessica. Jessica was still at the age where tests and entrance exams are pretty nerve-wracking. Recently, she clashed often with her mother, who was enthusiastic about her education.
失礼いたします。
Excuse me. Jessica, who was trying to leave the parlor in a bad mood, bumped into Shannon, who was pushing a serving cart filled with tea.
ああ、シャノン。私の分のお茶はいらないぜ。
Shannon, no need to worry about my tea.
私は庭でもほっつき歩いてくる。
I'll wander around the garden.
お嬢様？
シャノン、お茶が冷めます。
Shannon, the tea's
配
getting
膳を
cold.
急ぎなさい。
Serve it quickly.
失礼しました。
Apology. The 1 second delay is the difference between life and death for this tea. Shannon hadn't actually done anything wrong, but Natsuhi, who felt like something shameful to herself had been shown, lashed out at her emotionally. This is something that often happens in the Ashiromiya family. Why is Shannon still working here? It seems Shannon wasn't strong-willed enough to just accept it and move on, or leave her job, I guess. She shrank back and cowered while serving the tea. She had the unfortunate habit of making more mistakes when she cowered. Her pitiful appearance ruined the peaceful atmosphere that had existed a moment before, and it wasn't really Shannon's fault, but she thought she might be the source and felt the pressure on her chest. Her shaking fingers made the utensils clang, and you wouldn't have called it graceful, not even just to be polite. The more pitiful she appeared, the greater the silence grew, the more irritated Natsuhi looked. The more Shannon cowered. Her thin neck looked like it was being suffocated and choked by the reaper known as stress. At that time, George spoke brightly, blowing away the stiff atmosphere.
これはいい香
Usually,
りだね。
isn't this usually Hideyoshi's role? Anyway, this smells nice.
何の紅茶かな？
What kind of black tea is it?
と、
Oh boy. Battler's done this before too. Shannon doesn't seem to know the teas.
これは
This is...
うんうん、言わないで。
Oh,
当
don't
て
say
る
it.
から。
I'll guess.
これは特徴的な匂いだから多分わかるよ。
It's a distinctive smell. I probably know it.
アールグレイかな？
Is it Earl Grey?
多分そうだと思います。
That's
多
awkward.
分
It's like-
アールグレイで合ってる
I'll
よ。
bet it's Earl Grey. Yeah, what kind of Earl
台
Grey?
所に戻ったら紅茶の缶を見てごらん。
And get back to the kitchen and check the tin.
お
Oh.
お、ジョージ君は紅茶に詳しいのかい？
George, you know a lot about black tea, don't you? Yeah, but why would... If you're gonna pick one black tea... Okay, if you're gonna pick one black tea, what black tea would you pick? And would it be anything other than Earl Grey? Probably not. Like, I'm certainly not gonna pick, like, some, like, Irish breakfast or something like that. Actually, wait, is that actually a black tea? Like, I'm just gonna go with the standard Earl Grey. It's generally the best, right? Like, usually you just go with, like, Earl Grey, and that's it. English breakfast, Irish breakfast. Wouldn't go with those. Just go with the classic Earl Grey. Tea, Earl Grey. Hot, you know. There's Longjing tea. Is there? Okay. Is that good? I'm just saying, of the black teas, if I had to pick a black tea, like obviously, you know, green tea is different, but if I had to pick a black tea, I'm pretty sure most people would probably pick Earl Grey. It's especially easy to judge because when you go to the supermarket, it's like black teas, Earl Grey. Anything else? Maybe if you're lucky, one other black tea. Then like 3 varieties of green tea. Then some like fruity stuff or other kinds of tea. Or tea adjacent things. George, you know a lot about black tea, don't you? I mean...
お世話になっている社長さんに紅茶の詳しい人がいまして。
One of the company presidents who looked after me was very knowledgeable about
講
black
釈を聞
tea.
いているうちに少しだけわかるようになりました。
I managed to pick up a bit while listening to him discuss the subject.
ああ、おこのぎ食品の社長さんかい。
George could elaborate on the source of the tea. He could have. I don't think he was trying to actually figure out the tea, though. I think he was trying to give her an out and to just say that it was Earl Grey, whether or not it was. That seems to be what he was doing. Ah, yes, the president of Okanogi
あの
Foods.
人、そういううんちくは得意やな。
That trivia is that guy's specialty.
紅茶の名前って産地を示すことが多いんでしょ？
The names of black teas often refer to the places they're
じゃあ
made,
こ
right?
れはアールグレイという土地で栽培されたのが由来なのかしらね。
Did this come from a place of that name?
昔、イギリスにグレイ伯爵という人がいたそうで、その人にちなんでつけた名前だそうだよ。
From what I heard, there was a person called Earl Grey in England long ago and was named after him.
ちなみに、この特徴的な匂いは茶葉のものではなくて、ベルガモットというみかんの親戚にあたる果物でつけたものなんだって。
Furthermore, the distinctive smell does not come from tea leaves, but a fruit called bergamot, which is a relative of the mandarin orange. He is correct. In case you're wondering, that's some fun tea trivia for your friends who are all big fans of tea. Of tea, or black tea. Or Earl Grey in particular, but I guess they might know that one.
そうな
It's pretty
の。
straightforward. Is that
初め
so?
て知りました。
I never knew that.
そういう知識を持っていると、紅茶もより美味しくいただけますね。
Learning things like that makes tea taste all the more delicious.
酒もタバコも同じや。
Same for alcohol and cigarettes.
嗜好品はロマンをたしなむもんやで。
Luxury items have a taste of that romance.
こういううんちくが味わいを深めるんや。
Knowing stuff like this deepens the taste. See? This guy's got an excuse for knowing stuff like that is gonna deepen the taste of your tea. Your understanding
薬
and
の脳
enjoyment
巻きと同じ
will
よね。
increase. It's the same as reading the list of benefits on a medicine bottle.
夏日姉さんも愛用してる頭痛薬の説明書、今度はじっくり読んでから飲んでみなさいよ。
You should try reading the explanation on your favorite headache medicine someday.
それはいい。
A wonderful idea.
今夜試してみなさい。
Try it tonight.
え
I'll
え、
do
試して
so.
みます。
シャノンちゃん、そのポットを開けてごらん。
Shannon, try
茶
opening
葉
the
の
pot.
中にベルガモットを乾燥させたものが混
You
じっ
should
ている
try
のを
some.
見つけられる
You
はず
should
だ
find
よ。
some dried bergamot mixed in with the tea leaves.
あ、
Yes.
はい、入っています。
It's in there.
オレンジの皮を乾燥させたようなものが混じっています。
Something like dried orange peel is stuck in there. Yeah,
多分これがベルガモットだね。
probably bergamot.
アールグレイの香りの主成分だよ。
What? The main ingredient in Earl Grey is
匂い
scent.
は鮮烈だから味がきつそうな印象があるけど、素直で飲みやすい味なんだよ。
The scent
ミル
is
クティーに
vivid,
す
so you
ると
might expect.
香りもまろやかになって素敵かもしれないね。
You might expect the taste to be intense, but it's still gentle and easy to drink. Yeah, Nazi on that fucking Percocet, man. Damn, she's on some strong shit. If you make it with milk, the scent should become more mild, which works great.
みんなに注いでポットに余った分があったら、ぜひミルクティーにして飲んでみるといいよ。
If there's anything left in the pot after you've poured it for everyone, you really should try drinking it with milk. I mean, I wouldn't want to drink the very last dregs of a pot of tea that's usually like super intense in terms of flavor. But yeah, maybe if there's enough for a cup.
はい。
Yeah,
ありがとうございます。
thanks. George gave her a small wink. Shannon finally realized George had kind-heartedly swept aside the tense atmosphere in the room, and he'd done it for the sake of Shannon herself, a cowering servant. The Ashiromiya family did not pamper their servants. Any displays of awkwardness would be harshly punished, so it was rare for them to be given a helping hand like this. And thanks to George's kindness, Shannon managed to regain control of herself and finish serving tea without further incident. As long as she stayed calm, she could carry out her work elegantly and flawlessly. By the time the black tea was laid out on the table and its elegant scent filled the room, the atmosphere had completely returned to its former peaceful mood and everyone praised George's knowledge. Shannon wanted to thank him for saving her, but it didn't look like she'd get the chance, so she decided to at least thank him inside her heart, praying to God George would hear it as she pushed the cart away.
ジョージ兄さんは昔からそういう時には助け舟を出してくれるんだよ。
George Nissan always lends a helping hand at times like that, though it would seem.
話題をさらりと変えてくれるというかさ。
By changing the topic or something, Shannon and Jessica were in the rose garden. Jessica still hadn't returned to the parlor after getting into a fight with her mother and was nonchalantly killing time here. Life on the island is really boring. Damn.
思い返せば、こういう助けられ方をしたのは今回が初めてじゃない気がします。
When I think back on it, I get the feeling this wasn't the first time he's helped me like that. Whenever I made a careless mistake and George was around, I'm pretty sure he'd always naturally smooth things over and restore harmony. Maybe it wasn't something as direct as picking up a fork that had been dropped, but that was his way of caring. Even servants have their pride. They want to fix their own mistakes by themselves, and if a guest lends them a hand, they lose face.
そういう空気を読むのが得意なんだろうぜ。
Oh, he's really good at reading between the lines and stuff like that happens.
ジョージ兄さんの美学なんだろうよ。
Kind of like an art to him. Don't you only see George like once a year, Jessica?
あの人、妙に気ざったらしいところあるからな。
Guy's more of a show up than he looks.
そんなことありません。
Not
と
true.
っても素敵な方だと思います。
I think he's a wonderful person.
ん
Oh?
ひょっとしてシャノン、ジョージ兄さんに惚れた？
Shannon, you haven't fallen in love with George Nissan, have you? For once, Shannon disagreed with Jessica in a slightly forceful tone, which immediately caught Jessica's attention.
いえ、そういうことはないかと。
That's not it, I think.
そういや、ジョージ兄さんってあまり浮いた話を聞いたことないし。
Come to think of it, I've hardly heard any stories about George Nissan and love.
あれ？確か家庭的な子がタイプだとか前に聞いたかな。
I think I remember him saying family-oriented girls were his type, didn't I?
そりゃいいぜ、シャノンぴったりじゃん。
That fits you perfectly, Shannon.
私が
That's
ですか？
awkward. Shannon's like, it does? Oh dear.
そんな、
How could...
私にはその、
not,
そんな資格
suitable for
あ
such...
りませんし。
Well, he thinks you are. Family, he thinks you are... What was the phrase? Family-oriented girls. Okay, that's one way of putting it. That's one way of putting it, George.
資格はあるぜ。
Not suitable, like hell you are.
何年も昔から顔を合わせてて、半ば幼馴染状態。
You've known him so long, you're practically a
互
childhood
いに
friend.
男女であることを意識しないナチュラルな関係ってのは、一度意識し始めるとトントン拍子らしいぜ。
They say that when you start move from a natural relationship where you don't think of the other as a member of the opposite sex, things start to move pretty fast once you finally start thinking about it. There's no doubt. Jessica loved teen magazines with this kind of story, and she was always getting excited talking about that kind of thing with her friends. She was quick to pick up on love stories like this. So this isn't the first time Shannon had been exposed to this kind of story. But this certainly was the first time she'd started thinking of George as a member of the opposite sex. She was furniture. But is she high quality furniture? They are pretty rich. While George was an honored guest and member of the Ishiromiya family. Until now, she'd assumed that even imagining a deeper relationship with him would be impermissible. She hadn't thought of it. Since it was someone else's problem, Jessica poked fun at it, seeming to enjoy herself, and it was all Shannon could do to hide her blushing cheeks. If George were to appear at a time like that, she'd have no chance of keeping her cool. They saw George come out from the entrance hall of the mansion, and it looked like he'd seen them as well. He headed over, waving his hand, and Shannon had to frantically try and regain her ordinary composure before George reached them.
おじいさまがやっと降りてきたよ。
Grandfather finally came down. You mean Kinzo actually left his room?
あとは大人たちの話になるからって追
They're
い出
having
さ
an
れてね。
adult discussion, so they chased me out.
そりゃ抜け出して正解だよ。
Escaping them was the right
じい
choice.
様の顔を拝むくらいなら疫病神にキスした方がマシ
It
だ
would
ぜ。
be better to kiss the angel of death than look at grandfather's face. Jesus Christ, Jessica, you really don't like that old man.
そんな言い方は悪いよ。
You shouldn't speak
た だ
that way.
おじい様は僕らのことを疫病神だと思っているかもしれない
You
ね。
know, I think grandfather might think of us as angels of death.
何しろ事業用にお金を借りたいという話でやってきたんだから。
After all, we came here to talk about borrowing money for business reasons. That's right, this wasn't the customary annual October family conference. Ava's family had visited to apply for a business loan from the head family. Kinzo had vast resources and lent those out to his children. Of course, they didn't borrow money because they were living in poverty. How would they expand their businesses with the vast sums they wanted to borrow? How much interest would be attached? How long would they have to repay it? It wasn't the sort of loan designed for the poor. It was a loan for those who were on the offensive. Kinzo strictly judged whether it would be worth lending out his fortune, and afterwards he strictly oversaw its use. Is this where the guest house gets built? Or is this where he gets rejected because he's wasted so much money yet again? Guess we'll find out. So Rock and Jima would sometimes play host to this spectacle where relatives visited and described their businesses to Kinzo. To the parents, these meetings burdened them with the strain of having to move a vast amount of money. But to Jessica, who lived on the island called Rock and Jima, it was a precious opportunity to meet up with her cousins. So being able to talk with the occasional guests, such as George like this, well, it immediately cured the bad mood she'd gotten from that fight with her mother.
うちも全くケチくせえぜ。
My family's totally stingy
金
too.
なんて余ってるんだろうから、暇よく貸してやりゃいいのによ。
Probably got money to spare. Why not lend it out
うち
graciously?
の親父もじいさまもどうせねちっこくもったいぶってんだろうぜ。
Dad and grandfather will probably get pig-headed and act all important.
お金を貸すとき慎重になるのは当然のことだよ。
It's natural to be prudent when lending money, especially when Kraus has a bad history of losing money
も
on
ちろんう
deals.
ちの父さんも借り入れた分で事業を拡大し、しっかり返却できるプランを持って訪れてる。
Of course. My father will use what he borrows to expand his business, and he came with a plan that promises a solid probability of repayment.
あとはプレゼンテーション次第ってところだろうね。
Everything else is left up to presentation.
本当は脇で見させてもらって勉強したいんだけ
Really
ど、
wish I could watch in from a corner and
母
learn.
さんに追い出されちゃったんだよ。
Mom
ちょっ
chased
と
me out.
残念か
I'm
な
a。little let down. That's too
親
bad.
方様はクラウス様やエヴァ様のことを今でも子供の頃と全く変わらないように叱られるよう
Seems
で
masters
す。
still tend to scold Kraus and Ava as if they were kids.
そんな姿を息子のジョージ様に
I'm sure she didn't want to let her son see that. I'm sure she didn't want her son to see her getting scolded like she's a small child for wasting shit tons of money and asking for more from her parents at the ripe old age of, I don't know, like 50. As Shannon hung her head, she thought back on a scene familiar to those who worked in the mansion. Even Kraus, who acted haughtily towards his siblings, was still treated like a child by Kinzo. Shannon herself had often seen Kinzo slap Kraus and tell him to sit up straight. It was probably very embarrassing to be coerced like that at his age. Taking care to avoid being present at times like that was one of the important responsibilities held by servants working there. However, the fact that Shannon ended up witnessing such a scene meant she'd messed up at least once in the past.
そうだろうね。
I imagine so.
それを察して姿を消すのも子供の務めかな。
Maybe figuring that out and staying away is part of a child's duty. I don't think so, but alright. You do your own thing, George.
それにしても今年もこの庭園の花は本当に素敵だね。
That said, the flowers in this garden are truly splendid this year, and they're not being wrecked by a typhoon. It's beautiful. George stretched as he said that, and he smoothly changed the subject away from one that was a little gloomy. This time Shannon noticed it too. This person, George, could sensitively figure out the situation and always change the subject to something harmonious out of kindness. It was so smooth Shannon hadn't noticed it until today, and today she had to really admire the way George did that. Of the boys close to Shannon's age she'd known, nearly all had been classmates during her period of mandatory education. But they'd all been young, and none possessed the composure George had. Mere moments ago he'd been another guest, but right now she couldn't help but think of him as something more. However, such thoughts were mere distractions from her work as a servant. Shannon tried to chase them away with a small shake of her head.
どうしたんだよ。
Oh, what's up?
いえ、なんでもありません。お茶のご用意をしましょうか。
Shall I make some tea?
先ほどのアールグレイを改めてご
I'll
用意し
prepare
ます。
more that are okay.
紅茶の名前覚えてく
So
れ
you
たんだ
remember the
ね。
name of the tea?
嬉しいよ。
I'm glad. Oh yeah, she didn't remember the name of the tea last time. I wonder if she was serving Earl Grey again. That'd be a bit awkward.
そのさっきはお気遣いはありがとうございました。
Thank you for your concern back then. Oh, nice. Shannon was finally able to put her gratitude into words. If you wrote it out, it wouldn't be very long, but Shannon had needed a little spark of courage to say it aloud. But George played dumb.
何のことだい？
Oh, what
お
do you
礼を
mean?
言われるような覚えはないけど。
I don't remember doing anything to be thanked for. He seemed to be playing the gentleman in his own way, letting her know he wasn't doing it out of a desire for gratitude. His response seemed to be more or less exactly what Jessica predicted. He couldn't help but burst out laughing.
なあ、
He's being as gentlemanly as possible, I
こう
see.
いうところ気ざったらしいだろ。
Isn't he a bit of a show-off at times like this?
いえ、
No.
そんなことは。
Jessica poked fun at Shannon as the latter remained silent, red-faced. George didn't know the details, but he naturally joined in, laughing the same way. The three of them lazily walked around the garden, catching up on recent events. George, as the oldest cousin, talked about his life experiences. Jessica talked about life on Rockinjima, and Shannon talked about her recent work. They kept on going on about those trivial things. Even when Shannon heard the others talk about deeply interesting things, she never felt any particular interest in the actual content of their stories. Well, that sucks. Surely you want people to tell interesting stories they are willing to listen to. He was nothing more than a servant. She had no intention of delving into her master's lives. Simply wanted them to enjoy their time speaking with her. And would only pretend to listen intently and nod at the right moments. But for some reason, the things George talked about today seemed to catch her interest powerfully. Even things she'd normally ignore felt like they contained a trace of kindness behind the words. He's hooked her. He's hooked her. For some reason, she wanted to know more things about George, no matter how trivial, so she stared fixedly at him. She thought, as far as looks went, this Ashiramiya George, well, he's probably about average and not sticking out in any particular way. He was diligent, serious. He had a deep prudence which allowed him to understand people's hearts and show concern. But she never noticed these things before now, and she may not have met him many times, but she'd known his face for many, many years. Even so, she hadn't noticed once until now. Shannon, embarrassed by her own obliviousness, blushed. George, thinking that perhaps Shannon would listen intently to his stories, kept talking happily and at length about things he'd done and seen. But Jessica didn't miss that slight change in Shannon, so she decided she'd change the conversation to the topic she was sure Shannon was most interested in.
そういやさ、
Oh, come to think of it. Is she gonna ask George about any relationships in his life?
ジョージ兄さん、いい加減に彼女とかはできたわけ？
George Nissan, have you finally gotten a girlfriend or what?
なんだい、やぶから
Where
棒
did
に。
that cover? Sudden violent topic change. Normally that reaction should have been answer enough, but for some reason, as she was now, Shannon wouldn't be able to understand it unless he said it clearly.
そのジョージ様はお優しいですから。
George-sama is very
さ
nice.
ぞや
So I'm sure
その表になるだろうと。
very popular.
いや、その。
Well, you see, he's rich, but he's awkward businessman rich kid.
よせよシャノ
Quit it,
そう
Shannon.
いう追い詰め方はかえって意地悪だぜ。
Is it cornering him like that actually pretty mean?
私は別に
I wasn't trying
意
to
地
be
悪
mean.
のつもりは。
嬉しい勘違いをありがと
Well, I'm flattered you have that mistaken impression of
う。
me,
残念だけど、特定の一人の女性とはまだご縁がないよ。
but I still haven't had a relationship with any particular girl. Sucks to be George. Doesn't get a relationship with anyone, and his girlfriend dies the minute he tries to do anything with her. Life is rough for horror story protagonists slash side characters.
見ての通り、容姿も並以下だからね。
My looks are below average, as you can
女
see.
の子を楽しくさせてあげられるような気の利いた話術もないし。
And I can't speak tactfully in a way that can entertain a girl.
そんなことないと思います。
I don't think that's true.
それに男性の魅力は容姿では測れないところで決まるんじゃない
A
かと思いま
man's
す。
charm is decided by something that can't be measured by appearance. She's really going to bat for him. Nice.
だからその
That's why
ジョージ様はとても魅力的な男性じゃないかと
I think you might be considered
思います。
a very attractive man, George saw. Shannon was being uncharacteristically verbose. He hardly ever spoke at such length. George seemed fairly pleased to hear someone applaud his charm like this, but he was still a bit surprised at this sudden high praise. Jessica, now sure her guess was spot on, appeared to be barely holding back laughter. And Jessica's like, fuck, I knew it! I fucking knew it!
ありがとう、シャノンちゃん。
Thanks,
僕
Shannon.
に魅力を感じてくれるような寛大な女性に早く巡り会いたいね。
I hope I bump into a girl who's generous enough to feel attracted to me before too long. And Shannon's like, oh, I whiffed. I need to flirt harder.
きっと巡り会えると思
I'm
い
sure
ます。
I'm sure you'll run into one.
ジョージ様の本当の
I'm
魅
sure
力
there's at
に気づい
least
ている
one.
女性はきっといえ大勢いらっしゃると思いますよ。
A lot of girls who will recognize your real charm. She probably wanted to say there was at least one girl very close to him. And naturally he'd be like, Jessica? Jessica? Really? We're cousins, Jessica. That's probably how George's conclusion would work. Shannon avoided saying that much, though, drawing a final line as a servant.
そうかな。
Really?
さすがに照れるね。
I guess I'm kind of embarrassed. He had probably never been praised this heavily by a girl before. George's face turned just as bright red as Shannon's, and as she watched the two of them, Jessica giggled sadistically.
ジョージ兄さんもやがては素敵なパートナーと出会うだろうけどさ。
I'm sure you'll eventually bump into a wonderful partner, George.
今のままじゃきっと上手にパートナーをエスコートできないと思うぜ。
But I doubt you'll be able to properly escort her as you are now,
勤
right?
勉でいらっしゃるようだけど、そっちのお勉強はからっきしみたいですよ。
It looks like you're diligent, but you've completely abandoned your study of that.
悪かったね。
Sorry about that.
その勉強はこれから少しずつしていくよ。
I'll start studying that bit by bit.
相手もいないのにどうやって？
Oh, and how do you plan to do that by yourself?
恋愛映画でも見る？
You gonna watch romance movies or
それと
something?
も秀吉おじさんに習う？
You gonna learn from Uncle Hideyoshi? He's like,
まるで鬼の首でも取ったみたいだな。
You're acting pretty
こういう
triumphant.
話では男は女の子にかなわないね。
Men are no match for girls when it comes to this sort of thing. Normally when George and Jessica got together, their parents would say George is diligent and admirable, and Jessica is lazy and rude. It was probably unbearable fun for Jessica to have their roles finally reversed. And George realized this as well, so he resigned himself to being the one getting teased for once.
ジョージ兄さんさえいいならさ、 シャノンでちょっと練習してみたら？
So George, as long as you're okay with it, why not practice a bit with Shannon? Jessica's like, I'm gonna set them up. I'm gonna set them up as hard as I can. And I'm just thinking. Wait a minute. I've read a couple dojins with this as the concept. Just why not practice a bit with one of your servants for when you get a real girlfriend? You know what I'm talking about. Because she said, and I quote, what was it? You've completely abandoned your study of that. And she's like, why not study it with why not practice it with Shannon? It's like, what? I see. It'll be your job to keep Shannon entertained all day long on a date. Damn it, she was too specific. I can't make fun of that anymore. Fake date, though? I guess I've seen that one, too. We'll go on a practice date, except it's totally a real date. I think I've seen that one, at least. What do you think? What do you... When she heard Jessica's audacious plan, Shannon's face turned bright red with a poof, and a donut of smoke started rising from her head. That seems dangerous. Is there a hole in her hat? It's a tempting plan. I wouldn't want to burden Shannon-chan, though. It'd just end up wasting one of her precious days off, wouldn't it? I'd be butting in on that sacred time. The time she should really be spending alone with someone she really likes. I couldn't do something so boorish. I also don't have a person I have feelings for or anything, so, Shannon lied as easily as she breathed. Oh, it's not even close to as easily as she breathed, oh my god. So, there's no need to hold back for my sake. Shannon's blood had all rushed to her head, and it looked like even she didn't know what she was babbling about. Jessica, who knew how Shannon normally was, seemed to be finding this hilarious. She couldn't hide her cackling laughter anymore. I can't believe a cute girl like you would be single, Shannon-chan. I'm a servant, so, of course I don't have any relationships with boys, Which means, if Shannon ever wants a chance at getting herself a wonderful guy, she needs practice with relationships too, right? You both want the same thing. Jessica is doing a good job playing matchmaker here. Sweet, that'll be perfect. Jessica irresponsibly cheered the two of them on. By now, even George was hanging his head and turning red. George, I've been calling you for a while now. Didn't you hear me? Nope, we didn't hear any dialogue or even background music that indicated a voice or anything was being said. When Ava appeared in what was already an embarrassing situation, both of them got even more flustered, and Jessica watched, laughing loudly. Mother? Sorry, I was so engrossed in our conversation. I didn't notice. Eva-sama, you have my deepest apologies. Looks like you young kids are getting really fired up together. You're all about that age. Oh, I know how kids your age can talk about that sort of thing forever. Yep, that's right. You guys can talk about it forever. Ava roasting on. You're still young yourself, Aunt Ava, and did she use Obasan for Ava? How old? Okay, I know it's Aunt, but like still, imagine. She didn't even use Ane-san. She's just like, imagine. It's like, oh hey, it's old Uncle, it's all old Aunt Ava. You're still young yourself, and it's like you literally said I was old in your like description of me. You're like, oh, it's old Uncle Ethereal. You're still young yourself, and it's like, old Uncle, come again. True, she's called Obasa by many characters. Yeah, like every single person who is like 20 years younger than her. Like Jessica and Battler and Arya. Almost like it means aunt. Almost like it means aunt.
秀吉おじさんとの馴れ初めを聞かせてくださいよ。
Like, that's exactly what it means. So, of course, she's called by many characters as Obasan. Because Obasan means aunt. And if you hold the A, it's grandma. On, you're still... Alright, please tell us how you and Uncle Hideyoshi met.
あらあら、そんなの言えるわけないわ
There's
よ。
no way I could say that.
本当にみんな若いんだから。
You all are... You really are so young.
それで何母さん
So what is it, mother?
用があって声をかけたんじゃないの
You called because you wanted something, right?
お父さんたちの話が終わったわ。
Father and the rest have finished
お
talking.
じいさまにあなたの話をするからいらっしゃい。
We're gonna talk to grandfather about you, so come on.
僕の話
Me?
何の話かな
What could that be?
今みんなでしてたのと同じ話よ。
The same thing you were all talking about
ほ
just now?
ら、例
You know
の
what I mean, right?
話。
あ
Oh,
あ、あの話かい。別におじいさまに話すようなことじゃないんじゃないかな。
that isn't something we need to talk about to grandfather, right?
何の話だよ。
What's going on?
まさか
Wait, George.
ジョージ兄さん誰かと結婚するの
Are you getting married?
それはおめでとうございます。
Congratulations.
違うよ違うよ。
No, no.
特定の女性はいないってさっき言ったじゃないか。
Didn't I just say I didn't have a particular woman I was interested in?
威張ることじゃないでしょ。
That isn't something to brag about? Getting roasted by his own mom. He's like, I don't have anyone I'm into, and she's like, that's not something to brag about, bro.
まったく。
Good grief. Ava smiled bitterly, looking a bit exasperated.
わかった。ジョージ兄さんあれでしょ。お見合いだ。
George, he said, it's one of those, right? An omiai? A marriage meeting.
お見合いですか。
Omiai? You say? A marriage meeting, you say? I like how they defined omiai. I like how they defined omiai for us in English, in case they're wondering. That's interesting. So is I the characters for meeting then? Are the AI the characters for meeting? Oh, hold up. We can go look in Japanese, right? If I do...
お見合いですか。
It is not. Oh, see, and I forget what that house is. My apologies. I forget what that little house is. My bad. Oh well. As I recall, that's not the character for meeting though, so we're not there. All right, that's actually fairly fluid to swap languages. Not much of a delay. Kind of nice. We didn't actually swap languages yet, so I was just curious how that went. All right, back to English.
お見合いですか。
まあね。
Yeah. Surely, as a man, George wanted to find a partner by himself and bring her home with him, so it seemed he thought it a bit pathetic to meet his parents for the first time in a marriage meeting, or his partner for the first time in a marriage meeting arranged by his parents.
お見合いというのはもっと年齢が成熟してからするものじゃないのかな。
Marriage meetings be done at a more mature age?
僕はまだ一人前になったって自覚すらないというの
I
に。
don't feel like I've become a full-fledged adult. That's an appropriate response at any age, George. Shouldn't it be done at a more mature age? George said, a few months shy of turning 30. I still don't feel I've become a full-fledged adult. George said, a few months shy of 40.
もちろん、即結納即結婚なんて焦る気は全然ないのよ。
Of course, we have no desire to rush into an immediate engagement of marriage, right?
親睦を深めて、年齢的にもう少し落ち着いてから籍を入れる形でも問題ないの。
There's nothing wrong with deepening your relationship first and then having her move to our family register after you've gotten older and settled down. Judging by Ava's forceful attitude and George's non-committal one, the others could catch a glimpse of the story behind this marriage meeting. Oh boy. They didn't know who George was supposed to be meeting, but it was surely someone who would profit Ava's family in a business sense. The very fact they'd be satisfied with a mere engagement to deepen the relationship between the two families, rather than an immediate marriage, made it feel almost like a political maneuver.
結婚はね、好きになってからするものじゃないの。
You see, marriage isn't something you should enter into only after you start
し
liking
てから
someone.
慣れることよ。
You marry first, then you adjust.
感情だけで結婚すると必ず後悔する。
If you marry purely based on emotions, you'll always end up regretting it. It's an interesting philosophy. I don't think it's one that people think of these days, but I think it holds some merit since I think a lot of people might enter into a marriage and not be considering how much work it is to maintain a relationship with someone you're so close to for such a long period of time as your entire life. That might be one small factor that leads to the increase in divorces, the lack of commitment from people. Mind you, there are several others, including people being more free to leave abusive or bad relationships. But that is one aspect, right? A lack of commitment, as you can always remarry, does an outlook for me, because you can always remarry, and your difficulty to separate your emotions from your ability to work with someone long term in a close relationship. Alright, well, you
身
might
元
end
の
up
しっ
reading.
かりした人を生涯の伴侶に選んで、それから愛情を築いていくのも決して間違ったことではないの。
That's a long sentence. There's certainly nothing wrong with choosing a person with a secure background for your partner in life and then developing your affection later.
エヴァおばさん、それじゃ秀吉おじさんに悪いですよ。
Isn't that a little rude to Uncle Hideyoshi?
私はあの人のこと大好きよ。
I love
い
that
つま
man.
でも一緒にいて人生を共にしていきたい。
I want to always be with him and live my life by his side.
エヴァ様、素晴らしいです。
Ava, that's
本
wonderful.
当にご立派です。
Really splendid.
ありがとう。
Thank
でも
you.
その気持ちは二人で夫婦をしていくうちに育んだものよ。
But you see, we built up those feelings while we were husband and wife, you see.
そして今の私たちより未来の私たちの方がもっともっと仲良しだと信じて
I
る。
believe in the future we'll be much, much closer than we are now. I mean, I think that's like an interesting philosophy, right? Because you could say if your marriage or the stability of the marriage is based on each person's commitment to the marriage and the relationship, right? So if you say marry before you have feelings for someone and you're just like saying, I'm marrying you because I'm committed to you and I'm gonna make this work, and I'm gonna work as hard as I can for the rest of my life, and you're both in agreement, that is probably more important. That might be more important than just really liking someone, right? Because if you're entering into an extended relationship with someone, liking someone as they are now does not necessarily translate to liking them in the future, or a commitment to attempting to do so in the future, right? Alright.
私は夫婦はそういうものがいいと思って
I
る
think
の。
that's best. What's best for a married couple?
だからって好きでもない相手と結婚してもいいって論法にはならないと思うけどな。
Still, I don't think you can use that to argue it's okay to marry someone you don't even like. I believe she just did. And she says because it's the most important thing in the marriage is the commitment of the other person and yourself to the relationship, which seems fair. I mean, it's an argument. I don't think it's one you can offhandedly reject by saying, I don't think you can use it to argue it's okay to marry someone you don't like yet. No, I think that's exactly what you can argue. You can argue that who you marry isn't relevant, but that you can come to like most people, because it's kind of been shown that people will at least come to relate to people they're associating with on a regular basis, right? So simply by being so close to someone for an extended period of time, you're likely to come to like them in some way, shape, or form. Simply by the fact that you're living together or whatever. Common trope too, right? It's a pretty common trope too for romances, right? Two people are stuck together, they hate each other, 2 months later, they're married. Like, you've seen that in like 200 million rom-coms, right? They hate each other, they're forced to be with each other. End of series, they're married. Or like they're together for some other bullshit reason, right? They use that all the time. I'm pretty sure they do that in, what, Toradora? Alright. I'm sure there's plenty others. That was just the first that came to mind, and that's only like vaguely related.
だからって、好きな相手なら誰と結婚してもいいという論法にはならないわ。
But it also doesn't mean it's okay to marry anyone as long as you like them. I mean, that's also true.
結婚は一瞬。
It takes an instant to get married.
その後の夫婦生活はずっとずっと長い。
Your life will last a long time after that.
だから一時の感情に任せず慎重に相手を探すべきなの。
Search with prudence and avoid making decisions based on momentary emotion.
そしてそれは人生経験の未熟なあなたよりお母さんたちの方がうまくやれるとは思わない？
Don't you think a matter like this would be better handled by us rather than a person lacking in life experience such as yourself?
それはそうかもしれないけど。
But
あなたは私の自慢の一人息子よ。
now he should say it's a matter of pride. That would be his line. Is like he feels like he's not fulfilling his end of the bargain by finding someone. I'm proud of you, my only
どこ
son.
へ出しても恥ずかしくないくらい立派に成長してくれたわ。
You've grown magnificently, and I'm sure you'll do us proud no matter where you
バト
go.
ラ君は席を抜け、あなたが今やお父様の血を引く唯一の男孫。
And now that Battler's left the family register, your father's only male grandchild carrying his blood.
あなたにふさわしい相手は慎重に選ばなくてはならない。
You must prudently choose a fitting partner for you. As anyone related to the Ushiramiya family knew, Ava adored George immensely. That didn't mean she pampered him. She had been strict with him and raised him into a wonderful boy who wouldn't betray her expectations. That's why she treasured him
あ
so.
なたの相手は決して母さんたちの損得で決めてなんかいないわ。
Your partner certainly won't be selected based on your parents' profit and
あな
loss.
たにふさわしい本当に素晴らしい女性に
I'll bring a
母さんが合
suitable
わせてあげ
and
る。
truly wonderful woman.
今はあなたの中にある青臭い若さがそれを疎むかもしれない。
At the moment, your immaturity might make it seem unpleasant to you.
でもこれだけは
But if
母
you're
さ
gonna
んの
take
言うことを
advice
聞
on
きなさい。
anything, listen to me now.
私があなたのためを思わなかったことが
Have I
一
ever
度でも
failed
あ
to
る。
act in your best interest? You could respond by saying you act in what you perceive as my best interest.
それはないけど。
You haven't.
今はそれ
Lost
で
that
結構
argument.
よ。
That's enough for now.
行きましょう。
Let's go.
お父様を待たせてるわよ。
Keeping father waiting. Yep, that's fair.
急いで屋敷に行きなさい。
Off to the mansion. Go, mansion time. I
じ
mean,
ゃ
we're
あ
just outside.
ごめんね、二人とも。
Think about this in terms of families. Most people maintain relationships with their parents and siblings after growing up, unless they're actually really bad to them. Even if they aren't people they would normally get along with if they weren't close. Yes, exactly. But yes, it's been proven that you can put absolute strangers in a room, and they'll eventually come to associate or like each other more. It's like association by closeness is a thing that works in real life, and you don't strictly need to be like blood related to someone for that. So like her argument holds like some water, and like her argument holds some water in terms of like why you would enter into a relationship, like a marriage relationship like that. If you wanted like the stability of the relationship, the most important thing when you enter into the relationship is that you intend to maintain it, because you're making a choice to maintain it in the first place. And if you like aren't committed to the relationship, it's probably going to fall apart at some point. Just like I'm sure your relationships with like your friends, you know, like think of, you know, I don't know if you've gone to college or whatever, but like if your friend, if you move away for college, you probably lose or have your relationships decay with other people, right? Or if like your friend leaves for college, or you know, your relationship's going to decay because both of you aren't necessarily committed to maintaining it. As like, you know, you moved away, you're busy, you're both not actively trying to maintain it, so the relationship itself decays because A, you're not as close as you were when you were like going to high school every day and seeing each other, and second, you know, you're not like as related, you're not like as closely related or have like the same experiences, but you're also like not actively committed to maintaining the relationship. There's two reasons it decays, right? One is you're no longer close, and two is you're not maintaining it, so the relationship decays, and maybe you like no longer consider them like a good friend or acquaintance after like so many years of not speaking to them because maybe you forgot to, or you both moved on, right? Like the commitment part is pretty important. If you're both committed, it can work, right? It's like commitment and like closeness can get you there. Liking someone helps, though. Liking someone definitely helps establish a desire for closeness or a desire to have a relationship in the first place, right? Like her argument holds water. Whether or not it's like the be-all end-all solution you think people should have for relationships like that, that's like up to you. But I think it's like it has an okay, there's like an okay argument for it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's like the right answer for how to like form long-term relationships like this, or like how to marry people. And just because it's an argument, right? Yeah, you have old friends from high school, but your high school best friends you barely talk to anymore. You just chat on Facebook rarely or something like that. Yeah. And it's like you're no longer close, and you're no longer close to them because you're like no longer interacting with them every day. You don't have as much of a reason to talk to them, and you're not actively trying to maintain it at the same level it was last time. Because like, if you both really wanted to, you could probably maintain that relationship just as well. You could maintain it similarly as well at a distance. Or maybe if you come back your hometown after high school or after university, you know, you could strike it back up again. And if you both committed to it, you could probably get back to that level. But like, you're not necessarily going to do that because there's not that commitment, right? That's why Ava's making that argument. She's like, well, if you're both committed to keeping this relationship and you're both close, I mean, you'll naturally develop some sort of bond, right? Like you'll just get somewhere that way. And George is like, well, I don't think that's the case, but George is not presenting a good argument to his mother here. I think she's mostly just speaking over him, because he could say like, you know, personal pride. You could stake like lots of valuable things against that, like personal pride, independence, you know, freedom to choose who you want to associate with. Those are all pretty important topics, I think, that you probably shouldn't gloss over when you're making this argument. Like I did say, Ava's argument holds water, but like that's only one aspect of like relationship building and choice, right? Like we didn't talk about whether you should be free to choose someone, which he hasn't brought up yet. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. We'll see. Maybe we see his arguments from when he goes to talk to his grandfather. For you too. See you later. George bowed to the two of them, and after bowing once more to Shannon, he dashed off to the mansion. I'll be going. Sorry for interrupting such an entertaining conversation, Jessica. Shannon? Oh, no. Oh, don't worry about it. Come on, Shannon. Let's go. Yeah. It's alright. I'm sure you'll meet someone wonderful soon too, Jessica. A wonderful person. Suitable for you.
成績の悪い男かな。
So if he's at the same level as me, you mean like a guy with shit grades?
なんだかうぜえぜ。
That kind of pisses me off.
もちろんシャノンちゃんにもね。
And of course, you too,
あ
Shannon.
なたにふさわしい素敵な男性がきっと現れるわよ。
I'm sure a wonderful man suitable for you will appear. Yeah,
ありがとうございます。
thank you so much. As Ava giggled and smiled, she approached Shannon's ear with a hand over her mouth as though she were trying to tell her a secret.
使用人風情のあなたにぴったりの相手がきっと見つかるわよ。
I'm sure you'll find a perfect match for a lowly servant like
義務
yourself.
教育に行かせてもらった恩も忘れて。
Have you forgotten to be grateful for your
身の
education?
程を知りなさい。
Know your place.
そんなつもりは。
It's not what...
私。
man.
ジョージはお父様の血を引く孫の中では嫡男に当たるのよ。
George is the eldest grandson carrying father's
ひょっと
blood.
したら未来の後ろ宮家を背負うことになるかもしれ
He's
な
a
い。
person who may bear the burden of the Yoshiromiya family someday in the future.
その期待に応えるためにたくさんの勉強を重ねて素晴らしい大学に入り素晴らしい成績を残しているわ。
To answer that expectation, he studied tirelessly, entered a wonderful college, and is getting wonderful grades.
そんなジョージと無資格無教養な使用人風情が釣り合うと本気でお思い。
Did you really think you could snatch George away, you uneducated, incompetent, unqualified, and uncultured servant? Those malicious words all poured into Shannon's ear without spilling a drop. To Shannon, it was like cold water was being poured in there.
私は。
Did-
そんなつもりは。
This was all whispered to Shannon in secret, and with the same smile as before. Jessica, who could only see Ava's expression, didn't think it was anything other than Ava telling Shannon some embarrassing story about love. When their secret conversation ended, Ava patted Shannon's shoulder as though she was urging her on.
大丈夫よ。
Don't
あな
worry.
たにぴったりのお相手がきっと見つかるから。
I'm sure you'll find a perfect match for a partner.
ね。
Right?
じゃあね、ジェシカちゃん。
Alright,
ま
Jessica.
た後でね。
See you later.
はい、また後で。
Yeah, see you
秀
later.
吉おじさんとの話、その時聞かせてくださいね。
Tell me about you and Uncle Hideyoshi next time.
いやよ。
No way. Ava laughed loudly and headed back to the entrance hall. Behind Jessica, who was cheerfully waving her hand, Shannon reflected very, very deeply on the words of Ava about knowing her place. Time for me to take a serious look at how full of myself I've been acting. Are we on the... This is the second floor? I forgot. I'm furniture. Furniture isn't human, so I'm a being who must feel gratitude for even being treated like a human, and I'm not permitted to wish for more. People sometimes develop affection for furniture they're used to using, but that's an emotion on the human side, and the furniture has no right to hope for such a thing. Yeah, but furniture doesn't have feelings in the first place. The education they receive at this orphanage is quite interesting. Making people into furniture. It's enough that furniture serves with simple honesty day after day, and that feeling I got when talking to George and Jessica is the same as a forbidden drug to me. In other words, it may be emotional, but an emotion I must never experience.
シャノン、
Shannon,
先ほどからぼんやりが過ぎます。
you've had your head in the clouds for
体
some
調
time
で
now.
も悪いのですか？
Do you not feel well?
いえ。失礼いたしました。
It would be funny. It would be funny to have Shannon marry George and them have to fucking deal with it just because Ava would have to eat her venomous words. Of course, it would suck for Shannon because Ava's a complete fucking bitch, but, you know, it is what it is. It's like, it would really suck, but it would also be kind of funny because, she can wear she can wear the crest of the, the family and Nazi kit. It's like, imagine you go from servant with the right to wear the family crest to like marrying into the family, and you're like, well, I can already wear the crest, so get fucked, Nazi. And Nazi's like, are you fucking serious? Like everyone and their mothers in this family could wear the stupid crest, but I can't. That'd be awkward, right? You're like Natsuhi and you're like, why does this person outrank me? Oh, it's like, I don't have the crest, but she does, so she outranks me. Chick just married into me, the family and has this. Oh, not fair. Natsuhi's words were right on the mark. Even Shannon couldn't believe she hadn't noticed until Natsuhi had called. Normally it was essential that she focused on her cleaning at this time of day, but she'd spent all her time sighing and hardly making progress.
たとえお客様がおられなくても、常に気を張っていなくてはなりません。
Even when there are no guests around, you must always be
そんな様では、後ろ宮家に仕える使用人として、
Behavior
情け
like
あり
this
ま
is
せんよ。
shameful for an Ushiromiya family servant.
はい、
Yes, ma'am.
以後注意します。
I'll take care from now on.
もうじき、当主様と主人がお帰りになられます。
The head and my husband will return
書斎の清
soon.
掃は済んでいますか？
Have you finished
階
cleaning
段
the
の
study?
清掃は済んでいますか？
The staircase?
申し訳ございません。
Sorry. Not yet.
まだです。
ええ、知っています。
I know.
ですから、ルノンにやらせておき
I
ま
had
した。
Lunon do it.
あなたがもたもたと廊下を清掃している時間で、彼女は書斎と階段の清掃を済ませてしまいました
While you were
よ。
plodding around cleaning the hallway, she finished cleaning the study and the staircase.
それはその
That's because
丁寧にお掃除をしていたから時間がかかってしまって。
I wanted to clean it properly, so I took some time. Shannon was simple and honest, and she'd always carry out her task seriously and properly without omission. She was always slow with her work. In contrast, Lunon cleverly avoided doing extra work whenever it was possible, so she could complete her jobs with a result that looked almost the same to an outsider, but in a much shorter time. In other words, a shrewd employee. Compared to that, it's probably fair to say Shannon wasn't very shrewd, talking back to Natsuhi when Natsuhi was in a bad mood. Of course, there was nothing Natsuhi couldn't stand more than a servant talking back. Her forehead creased and she spoke sternly. And yet her slow, admonishing style of speech was even more terrifying and finally made Shannon realize she said the wrong thing.
ならば、存分に丁寧な清掃を心がけなさい。
Then perhaps you should aim to do a truly thorough
Shannon.
cleaning.
あなたにこのまま大広間の清掃も命じます。
Shannon, I order you to clean the reception hall
当
right
主
now.
様の大切な絵画が多数飾られ、後ろ宮家への賓客をお招きすることもある
It's an
大
important
切
hall.
な広間です。
There are several pictures treasured by the head, displayed where honored guests of the Ashiromiya family are welcomed.
誇り一つ残さないよう、あなたが納得するまで丁寧に清掃なさい。
Clean it thoroughly so not a speck of dust remains and so that even you are
もちろ
satisfied.
ん今日中にです。
Finish it before the day is
それ
out.
を終えて私に報告するまで、食事も休憩も許しません。
Until you finish that and report to me, you will not be permitted any food
わか
nor
りました
rest.
ね。
Understood?
はい、
Yes, ma'am.
奥様。
結構。
Good.
使用人はその言葉だけを口にするように。
Servants should endeavor to only use those words.
次の口答えには、より厳しい罰を与えますから、そのつも
Next
り
time
で。
you talk back, your punishment will be even more severe. So with that in mind,
よく胸に刻んでおきなさい。
engrave those words into your heart.
はい、奥
Yes,
様。
ma'am.
ご指導をありがとうございます。
Thank you for your guidance.
どういたしまして。
You are welcome. Behaving as though her headache was troubling her, Natsuhi headed off down the corridor. When she couldn't see her anymore, Shannon hung her head and sighed. This is what happened when she had her head in the clouds. Even though I'm bad at everything I do, I should be able to at least carry out the cleaning as well as an average person can, right? It's because I can't even perform that very well that I'm crying so pathetically. But what's even more shameful is that not only have I been unable to perform a single bit of cleaning well, but just now when Natsuhi was scolding me, I imagined that person appearing and rescuing me. If only George was here. Would he casually step in and save me? Surely he'd show up cheerfully, unintentionally acting like he didn't know what was going on. Nimbly change the subject and make me forget I'd ever been rebuked by Natsuhi. I kept envisioning him suddenly appearing from the other side of the door or the other end of the hallway. I envisioned the kind of person that would be an appropriate partner for him in a marriage meeting, and I envisioned how unfitting I was for him. Ava clearly told me it's been repeating over and over in my dreams.
姉さんは相変わらず不器用だね。
Clumsy as always, Nesa.
奥様は今朝から虫の居所が悪い。
The lady's been in a bad mood since this
黙って
morning.
うなずいていればいいものを余計なことを言うから。
That happened because you talked too much. You should have just hung your head in silence.
カノン君。
Cannon was suddenly there. His footsteps were always quieter than a cat's, and he never left any trace of his presence. He probably could have stood there forever, and she wouldn't have noticed him. This man's got like really high, move silently, and hide checks. Very impressive, my friend. He might even have presence concealment. The expression on Cannon's face was one of hatred. He made that expression for Shannon, who didn't know how to do it herself.
奥様も、そしてルノンも地獄へ落ちろ。
Madam and Lunon can fall into
あい
hell.
つは奥様がどこをチェックするか知ってて、そこしか掃除しない。
That person knows where Madam checks and only cleans those
さっ
areas.
きの掃除もそうだった。
Her cleaning just now was just like that.
見ていたから知ってる。
I know because I
本
saw.
当の意味での掃除なんかしてないんだよ。
She wasn't really
丁
cleaning.
寧に掃除する姉さんに寄生してるだけの最低なやつだ。
She's the worst kind of parasite, leeching off your thorough cleaning.
そんな汚い言葉を使ってはダメよ。
Don't use such dirty words. Shannon's great. Shannon at least attempts to be gracious.
汚い言葉はカノン君の綺麗な魂まで怪我してしまう。
Dirty words pollute your clean soul, Cannon-kun. And Cannon-kun, meanwhile, Cannon-kun, meanwhile, just like it shoves the pages filled with his poetry about his pitch black, filthy heart into his pockets. Cannon-kun is an edgelord.
だからせめて私の前ではそんな言葉遣いをしない
At
で。
least don't use those words in front of me.
ね。
Alright. Cannon turned away as though sulking. It was a reaction that hid his true feelings, which was very like Cannon, but I was a little happy. He's getting mad for my sake.
大広間の掃除は大変だよ。
Cleaning the reception hall will be
僕も
tough.
手伝う。
I'll help.
ありがとう。
Thank
で
you.
も奥様に命じられたのは私だから大丈夫。
The one Madam ordered. Don't worry.
カノン君にも自分のお仕事があるんでしょ。
Don't you have your own work, Cannon?
汚らわしい仕事だよ。
It's a filthy
僕の
job.
魂なんて。
My soul was polluted long ago.
Cannon hung his head and bit his lower lip. Just listen to the dialogue he
手
says.
伝ってくれるという言葉だけで私は十分。
Just hearing you say you'll help is enough
カ
for
ノ
me.
ン君も自分の仕事に戻らないとあなたまで罰を受けることになっちゃう。
If you don't go back to your own job, you'll be
そ
punished
し
as
たら
well.
私
That
は
would make
悲
me
しい。
sad. It'd also create more work for us. Shannon knew Cannon's character well. Sometimes he didn't think enough about himself. If I don't refuse forcefully, he'll help me even if it means neglecting his own job. Well, that's not good. That's not good at all. Cannon was a little sad that his goodwill had been rejected, but he realized what he was doing would only hurt her more in the end, and he gave a single small sigh.
わかったよ。
Understood.
姉さんも頑張って。
Do your best, Nason.
それに私にも責任はあるから。
I'm also partly to blame.
姉さんには責任なんて何もない
Your
よ。
fault at all, Nason.
うん
No,
あ
no.
るの。
I am.
だから
Go now.
もう言って。
Cannon's face showed that he still hadn't completely accepted it, but without being any more obstinate, he disappeared. Even though Cannon-kun came to give me words of comfort when I was down, even so I was dejected again because it wasn't him. That in itself was a sin. It went far beyond any dream the likes of me could be permitted to see. I don't know my place. Shannon, who neglected breakfast, already felt her concentration begin to waver, but if she didn't finish cleaning up the reception hall, she wouldn't receive Natsuhi's permission to eat. The cruel Natsuhi had surely told the kitchen something to that effect. I have to respectfully receive Madam's punishment. That's right. My position in this world is furniture, and I've been intoxicated by a dream that's beyond me. I finished cleaning the hallway and went to the reception hall. Ooh, we haven't had this background before. I don't think, at least. I don't recognize the large windows, the grandfather clock on the left, the chandelier in the center, and I especially don't recognize this fireplace with a landscape painting above it. I also don't recognize the texture on the floor or the chairs, but that's not too important. Those are also secondary features. Alright. I looked at the walls and was like, I don't recognize this place. Alright, the reception hall. Maybe my hunger made my nose more sensitive. I could smell a delicious aroma wafting from the kitchen, even though it were far away, and my empty stomach was encouraged even more. Until I finished here, I wouldn't get any soup. I just had to resolve myself to doing it. Several portraits hung in the reception hall. That's the picture I remember. One of those portraits was thought to hold a special meaning amongst the servants. It was the portrait of the witch. It wasn't its true name, but everyone in the mansion called it that. The name of the portrait with the woman with an elegant blonde hair drawn as the subject of that portrait was Beatrice. It was whispered she might be the former mistress of Kinzo, the family head, and although she was the great witch who'd given Kinzo the gold of legend, the witch Beatrice, master of the night on Rockenjima, she was gracious to those who respected her, but she would surely curse those who made light of her. It was in Shannon's character to not neglect rules and beliefs such as those. So she thought of the portrait of her other master as the person herself and always treated it carefully, treasuring it. And it had become part of her daily routine to tell the witch, who only existed in the portrait, the secrets of her heart. It was furniture that doesn't complain, cannot complain. So she had no right to speak her mind about her difficult days. She had no right to open her mouth and say those words, so she at least spoke her mind inside her heart. She spoke her mind inside her heart, using words she couldn't say aloud, and protested to the formless witch. Of course, the witch didn't answer. She didn't console, she didn't laugh it off. Shannon could only interpret that silence as she liked, as though the witch was responding agreeably. Beatrice-sama, please listen to the story of my worthless self. As Shannon wiped the dust from the witch's portrait, she spoke that inside her heart. I certainly am incompetent and uncultured, as Eva-sama said. I'm not a person. So maybe I have no right to love. In that case, why was I given a heart that can know love? Oof. Poor Sayo. She needs some head pats. Oh, you were thinking the same thing. Yeah, exactly. At that point, Shannon held back her tears for a moment. The sound of the rain, which started falling along with the chill in the air in the reception hall, made her feel as though her shabbiness had increased another level. Real furniture doesn't have anything like a heart. They don't have to love people, right? They don't feel pain? I'm just another piece of furniture. Why do I have a heart? If it's gonna be this painful and this harsh, I wish I was never given a heart like this. I see. What's that? The voice of the witch? Beatrice? Oh boy, here we go! I see, so a heart was given to furniture. It seems that even that man is capable of some quite amusing things every now and then. R.I.P. in peace, the space character. The witch that never answered or laughed. She answered and laughed. Was it my imagination? Was I hearing things? It's Beatrice! No, that's wrong. After all, the next words became a voice, and I could hear them, not in my heart, but with my ears.
世界を構成する元素について紀元前の昔から探求を続けてきた。
This is an interesting piano tune. Alright. Humans have continually searched for the elements that make up the world since before the modern era.
古代ギリシャ人たちは風、火、水、土の4つで世界の説明を試みたという。
Said in ancient times the Greeks tried explaining the world with 4 elements of wind, fire, water, and earth. Yep.
その後も数千年かけて人間たちはその4つに様々な元素を加え、
And after that, over several millennia, humans added several elements to those 4.
6代、7代、8代、12代と
They tried
様々な解釈で世界を説明しようとしたが、
They tried to explain the world with several interpretations, such as the 5 elements, the 6 elements, the 7 elements, the 8 elements, the 12 elements.
唯一の真実である一なる元素を説明することはできなかった。
They're never able to describe the sole truth that exists, the single element.
しかし、星の導きによって現れた一人の男が、ついにこ
I mean,
の
this
世
is
界を構成する一なる元素を説明した。
this is a really nice tune. And it's very appropriate, I think. However, a single man appeared by the guidance of a star and finally explained the single element that makes up the
何
world.
かわかるか？
Know what it is? Oh, she's like having that panic attack where she's like, who am I talking to? Shannon fearfully turned around. Right there, she existed. Not as an illusion, but as a reality. The contrast made by the lightning made it clear this was no mere daydream.
それは
It's love. The witch of the portrait elegantly held a golden pipe to her mouth and giggled. She laughed at the ignorance that causes humankind's thoughts to stray so far from the most simple answer.
その男は世界のすべてを愛で説明した。
That man explained everything in the world with
それ
love.
こそ一なる
The
元
single
素。
element.
男は最小の数で世界の構成を説明しきったのだ。
He explained how the world was constructed with the smallest possible number. This is fun.
なんとも単純明快にして豪快爽快愉快痛快。
How simple and clear, how splendid, exhilarating, pleasant, and thrilling.
やがてその男の生まれた年は西暦紀元と呼ば
The
れ
year
る
the
よ
man
う
was
になった
finally
が
born.
な。
It's called the start of the modern era. Beatrice has become Catholic? You don't say. Okay, the BCE CE divide is off by like what, 10 years? Something like that. It's actually off a little bit. Shannon lost any words to speak. She thought that when first meeting an unknown guest, her first words should be to ask that person's name. But without saying anything, Shannon knew this person's name, so she refrained. Surely it would be the greatest disrespect for someone who lived or worked on this island to ask this woman her name. After all, she's the other master of this island besides Kinzo.
ベアトリーチェ様。
It's so
いかにも
indeed.
わらわがベアトリーチェであ
I am Beatrice.
る。千年を経ても人がわらわを見て最初に浮かべる表情は変わらんな。
And even after 1,000 years, I see people still give me that look when we first meet. I'd be surprised too if someone who was over 1,000 years old looked like they were wearing 18th century clothes. And they didn't exist and suddenly did exist here. I'd be like, why are you wearing clothes that aren't from 1,000 years ago? Or something that's super modern. Why something from 2 centuries ago? Seems weird, man. Especially because those are awkward dresses to move about in. But, no, whatever. I see people always give me that look when we first meet. The witch giggled at how Shannon's reaction didn't betray her expectations, and Shannon realized she'd met with a being that mustn't be met with and took a step backwards. That's where the wall and the portrait were, so even as she gazed at the witch's portrait touched her back.
お前の悩みは愛ゆえよ。
The source of all your troubles is love.
それはすなわち世界の一なる元素
Love. The single element that makes up this world.
この世のすべて。
In other words, it is everything in this world. Well, that'd be nice.
それが満たされぬということは、世界が満たされぬに同
When
じ
it's。lacking, your world's lacking too.
それは、穴の開いた水筒に水を汲み続けるのに似ている。
Another interesting philosophy. It's no different than skipping water into a canteen with a hole in it. She's like, everything in the world, it comes down to love, so if you don't have it, life feels empty. That might be a good... This is a nice tangential continuation of Ava and George. Ava's sort of debate with George, more like her spouting her philosophy, and George kind of going, And so Beatrice provides a contrary opinion of like everything in the world relies on love, or your passion for something. An interesting statement. Let's continue.
くめどもくめども満たされぬ永遠の心の砂漠。
Even if you scoop and scoop, that eternal desert of the heart never fills.
人間の基礎にして全てにして現在。
It's the original sin humans are founded upon, and everything is made up.
わかるか？
Understand?
知識の実を口にしたアダムとイブが知ったのは愛だったのだ。
When Adam and Eve put the fruit of knowledge to their lips, love is what they
そ
learned.
れを知ったがゆえに、人は楽園を覆われ、人足り得たのだ。
And because of that, humans were chased out of the garden, becoming fully
すな
human.
わちそれは愛を知り、苦しむからこそ人であること。
Which means that knowing love and suffering is what makes one human. That's sort of true. I don't think she's characterizing this. I don't think she's reading it in the usual interpretation. But that's a correct phrasing of that, right? As it's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Wait, how is that? How is that a heretical statement? She says by eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is what Adam did and Adam and Eve did. That's what makes you human, as it defines yourself. It defines people. That's not exactly heretical. Because like if you would say if you're a Christian, you would say like your entire existence should be defined by like Adam. Your entire existence and your entire life and all suffering in the world is a direct result of knowing about good and evil. Right? It's the knowledge of good and evil that results in mankind falling. So I don't think she's saying things wrong. I don't think she's saying it in like the most traditional straightforward way, but but like her phrasing is off, maybe because it's the translation, and maybe they didn't just like straight up go to the Bible and be like, okay, she's probably quoting this almost verbatim. Let's translate it that way. Like they might not have done that. They might have just translated it normally. But that seems like an accurate statement, right? She's not saying it's a good thing. She's saying it's what makes you human. And I would say that if people do not possess knowledge of, or if people lack the capability to understand good and evil, would they not inherently not be human? Because you would also say that like your entire experience as a human is presently defined. Because I would say like your experience as a human is presently defined, but like from that perspective, you would say your experience as a human is defined by all the suffering and experiences you have, all the temptations of the devil, all of that is as a direct result of this. So I think it's sort of okay to say like your experience is defined by that, right? That's why you have to like pursue God, right? Right? You don't want to go straight to hell, and the reason you're going to hell in the first place is because of that knowledge. And like you would inherently not be the same person if you were just like automatically granted entrance to heaven by virtue of existing, or simply couldn't die. You wouldn't be human, right? You would be something else. Right. So like having somewhere in your genealogy, theoretically, having someone who ate from that tree is the cause of what makes you like an average person.
心優しき娘
Kind-hearted
そ
child.
なたは誇っていい
You ought to be praised.
それを知った今そなたはもはや家具にあらず
Now that you've gained this knowledge, you're no longer
そなたは
furniture.
今こ
You're
そ
now human.
我が名にかけてそれを認めようぞ
From last time, there being someone named Beatrice who's the guide of Purgatory is a pretty direct down to his reference. It's gotten me to start reading the Inferno. Yeah, I actually like I think Inferno is good. I think Purgatorio and Paradiso are both really boring. I'd recommend reading Purgatory, but you'll notice that it slows the fuck. Sorry, I'd recommend reading the Inferno, but you'll notice as it slows down. Like it's like if you ever read Maiden Abyss, it slows down as you get deeper and it gets less interesting. Except this one actually finishes all 7 circles and then goes to Purgatorio where it really slows down. I actually don't remember much of Purgatory though, because I read Inferno and I started Purgatorio and I was like unbelievably bored with it, so I stopped. But that's my experience, and I might not just have been. I wasn't really in the mood to keep going anyway. So if you enjoy it, keep reading. I mean, I got through the classics and I was like, oh, there's more. It keeps going, and I was like, it's okay. But if you're enjoying it, please do keep reading. It is a classic. Is it hard for a common person to understand? Maybe. It might be. Divine Comedy is pretty good. Alright. Very well. Forgive me. It's been a long time since I spoke with a human. Allow me to apologize for my talkativeness. Without waiting for a reply from Shannon, Beatrice laughed pleasantly for a while. Perhaps this isn't much by way of an apology. Yeah. Oh, cool. You've got a version of the Divine Comedy with all 3 parts and lots of notes on the historical and religious context. So you can enjoy the historical tidbits as much as the main text. Yeah, it's really handy. There's a lot of stuff tied to. There's a lot of stuff tied to, especially wow, the words. There's a lot of stuff tied to all of the Divine Comedy. That's pretty important for historical notes and like religious doctrine throughout the Middle Ages, which is kind of cool. It's a very influential novel, even if some parts of it seem created whole cloth from fiction. It's kind of cool. It's one of those texts you probably want to at least read part of it, right? I think most people want to should at least read Inferno, just so that they know what the contents of all the circles of hell are supposed to be. So people don't misuse the phrases for it. It's also kind of funny because he had to. Because I really like that in a Divine Comedy. I assume you've started reading it. Anyway, I assume you started reading it. So the first circle of hell, in case anyone's wondering, is where all the people who like were around before Christianity are, and people who are like good people but not Christians. So like all the legendary philosophers are there because the author and Christians of the time were really struggling to conceive or to rectify the idea that there were people around before Christianity, and there were people there before Judaism spread to the region. So they had to basically put all these people that they like greatly respected in hell, and they're like, what do we do here? So they invented like the most lenient version of hell ever. Basically, if you're in the first circle of hell, you're not in purgatory, you're in hell, but you basically have nothing to do but wander around and talk with famous people. It's kind of funny that they had to invent like the most lenient hell you've ever imagined. And you're like, that doesn't sound too bad. I mean, it's forever, but on the other hand, like, it's not that bad. It's not like because the suffering is supposed to come from the absence of God, right? But they had to do that because they were like, we can't be respecting or like we can't be like respecting these people and making like statues to them while at the same time being like, wait a minute, these guys are like in hell and hell's a bad place for bad people. That's like one of my favorite parts about the Divine Comedy is how he put those people in the first circle of hell. And you're just like, I guess that's hell, but I mean, if I end up there, that's not so bad, right? It's like, well, if you go to hell there, that's not so bad. That's not so bad. Could be way worse. Like, just a couple floors down. It's considerably worse. Considerably worse. Just one floor down. Anyway. Perhaps this isn't much by way of apology, but I would be willing to grant that wish of yours with my power, if you so desire. The meaning of those words surprised Shannon even more than the witch's sudden appearance. I offer to bring you and the one you love together. Normally I demand something of equal value in return. But I'm in a good mood. You've never failed to pay your respects to me in the past. That's something worth rewarding. Is that true? Normally, Shannon would have been shocked and struck dumb by this seemingly impossible guest. However, almost as though she was already under the witch's spell, Shannon responded. With my magic, it would be no trouble at all to arrange for you to be joined with the one you love. Of course. Shannon almost said that without thinking, but held back with her last bit of common sense. Press Beatrice, pay respects. After all, this is a witch. A sinister being. The witch Beatrice is clearly trying to slip in through the cracks in my heart and take me prisoner. The sort of temptation which so many fairy tale picture books warned me about when I was young is right in front of me now. Do it for the lulz! Fear is also a form of respect. It may be pleasant for me, but we'll make no progress this way. I may not differ much from the image of a detestable witch that you hold in your mind. Beatrice. Alright, however, I do bestow my favor upon those who respect me. She's not differing much from it. Yeah, she's literally the same as her portrait, okay? Aren't humans the same? Well, I doubt any human would bestow a favor upon one with such a hostile attitude. My apologies. I did not mean... Shannon eventually realized how rude she was acting toward this guest, and she finally digested the words that had been spoken to her a short while ago. You are no longer furniture, now you are human, and as she reflected upon those words, Shannon felt as though the witch understood all her worries. I'm curious, hold up. If I go to, like, system here... Blah, blah, blah. I want to see if her portrait changes, because we have Beatrice. Oh, they're all here now, never mind. I was going to say... I'm curious. I was curious to see if she had this brand on her had the brand on her thigh in her current state, and if she got it only after meeting Beatrice. But apparently not. Oh, rip those slates. So Shannon felt as though the witch understood all her worries. What was that, just now? Beatrice's name is pronounced the Italian way. Beatrice. 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 What was that now about a reward?
その心を虜にする男と結ばれるように取り計らってもいいと言っている。
I say I can arrange for you to be joined with the man who's captured your heart.
わらわの肖像画を日々丹念に磨いてくれたことへの礼とでも思うがよい。
Think of it as a sign of my gratitude for your diligence in polishing my portrait day after day.
安心せよ。対価は求めぬ。
Calm yourself, I ask nothing in
わら
return.
わは気前
I'm
が
generous.
だがな。対価は求めぬが。
However, though I ask for nothing in return, I do have a request. Here we go. No witch would offer anything for free. Look, here it comes. Part of Shannon's heart sent her a warning. This is what all those scary picture books she'd read when she was little warned her
この
about.
島のすぐ近くの海に岩が覗き、そこに小さな鳥居と祠が設けてあるのを知っているか？
Do you know of the small torii and shrine that have been constructed on the ocean very near this island, which you can see when you gaze at the cliffs? Shannon immediately remembered it. When you reached Rock and Jimo by boat, there was a torii and a shrine on a reef that was too small to be called even an islet. I'm pretty sure Kumasawa-san told me its history, but I can't remember it well. A traveling shugenja, a kind of holy man, had it built or prayed there or something.
知っていますが、
I know about it.
それが何か。
Why do you bring it up?
魔に通じぬものに一から説明はせぬ。
I will not explain everything, including the very basics, to one ignorant of
早い
demons.
話がだな。
Simply put,
あれには参っておるのだ。
it causes me trouble.
実はな、あの祠の中にある鏡が収められている。
The truth is, there's a mirror kept inside the
それ
shrine.
をそなたに割ってほしい
I
と
want you to break it. Aren't breaking mirrors supposed to bring like 7 years bad luck? That seems like a bad idea. It was a suspicious request. Shannon didn't know the details, but anything stored inside a shrine would have to be something sacred. And she wants me to break it? Why would a witch ask a human for help instead of doing it herself? There was no need for Shannon to speak her thoughts aloud. Beatrice responded to Shannon's reasonable doubt before Shannon could give her
あの
answer.
鏡の魔力はわらわの魔力と相対する。
The magical power of that mirror opposes my own.
人の言葉でうまく説明できぬな。
I can't explain it well with human words.
例えれば食器の違いとでも言おうか。
For example, let's speak of the differences between
あの
utensils.
鏡はフォークで、わらわの力はスープなのだ。
The mirror is a fork, my power is
フォ
soup.
ークでスープは飲めまい？
You cannot drink soup with a fork,
あ
yeah?
の鏡の押し付けさえなければ、わらわはスープを飲むのにぴったりのスプーンが用意でき
If
る
only
という
the
わけ
resistance
だ
that mirror were gone. I could produce a spoon ideal for drinking
そ
soup.
れさえあれば、スープも飲めるし、岩ろうだって掘り抜けるぞ。
After that, I could drink soup as I pleased and even dig my way out of a rocky prison. Subtle, isn't it? She's like, if only I could dig my way out of this prison I'm in. Anyway, you want to get married to someone?
目玉だってえぐり貫ける。だったか？
I could even gouge someone's eye out with it. Was that not the phrase? I don't know what you're
何の話かわかりません。
talking about.
私の無教養のせいだとしたら謝ります。
I don't know what you're talking about. If my poor education is to blame, I apologize.
こういうことだ。
It comes down
あ
to
の
this.
忌々しい鏡をわらわのために割る手間をかけてくれた
If
な
you
ら、
take action and break that annoying
そ
mirror
の
for me,
褒美として、
I'll grant your
そな
wish
た
as a
の願い
reward.
を叶えてやるということだ。今日のわらわは本当に機嫌
I'm
がいい。
in quite a good mood today.
そなたが望むなら願い事を変えて金蔵に授けた黄金を丸ごとくれてやることにしてもよいぞ。
You may even change your wish and receive all the gold I bestowed upon Kinzo if that's what you desire.
お断りします。
I refuse. Well, that's a brave face, Shannon.
なんと
What? When she heard Shannon's words, Beatrice realized for the first time her expectations had been betrayed.
理由があれば聞かせよ。
If you have a reason, tell me.
誤解があるなら解こうぞ。
If there's been some misunderstanding, I shall resolve it.
理由なんてよくわかりません。
That's fair. I don't really understand the reason.
でも今日までこの島は平和で何も起こりませんでした。
But until now, the island's been at peace and nothing bad's happened.
なら鏡を割らなくても今日までと同じ平和がこれからも続いていくはずです。
That's a good philosophy. Yeah, you like that, right? The reference to spoons? Yeah, right? I like the reference to spoons. We're going back to it when they were talking about how you could use a spoon to tunnel your way out of prison. Drink. And the, drink soup and gouge someone's eyes out. That was the 3 references, right? I like that discussion. Yeah, it's a nice callback there. Beatrice is being being funny. Alright, even if I didn't break the mirror, the peace that existed until today should continue into the future.
なるほどなるほど。
You are quite
それは
right.
もっともだな。そなたの言う通
As you
りだ。
say.
あれを割らぬなら、割れぬ今日までと同じ日々が、
If you
明
don't
日
break
も
the
明
mirror.
後日も続
The
こうぞ。
same unbreakable days that have passed until now will continue into tomorrow and the next day.
わらわが絶対の保証をしよう
Why
で
don't
は
I
な
give
い
you an
か。
absolute guarantee?
ベアトリーチェの名にかけて言う。
I'll stake my name,
割れぬ
Beatrice
今日
on
ま
it.
でと同じ日々が、明日も明後日も続こうぞ。
The unbreakable days before this time will continue into tomorrow and the next day. That's an interesting statement.
それは永久に、永遠に。
And for eternity and perpetuity. Okay. Shannon felt overwhelmed by an eerie illusion. I'm surprised with that statement too. The mirror probably existed for the purpose of restraining the witch. So if Shannon broke it, the person who stood to gain was the witch herself. And yet Shannon felt somehow she had to do it for her own sake. It felt like some premise had been switched around.
わらわはあくまでも褒美としてそなたに思いを成就する機会を与えたに過ぎぬ。
I will do nothing but grant you a chance to bring your feelings to fruition.
割ろうが割るまいが、そなたの自由だ。
It's up to you to decide whether you'll break it or not.
割れば、わらわはそなたの願いを叶える。
If you break it, I'll grant your wish.
割らねば、今日までの明日が永遠
And
に
if you
続
don't,
く。
the tomorrows that came before today will continue for all
そな
eternity.
たの願いは永遠に叶うことはない。
Your wish will not be granted for all time. That's fair.
わかるか？
Understood?
何を言ってい
See
る？
what I mean? The witch was speaking. She was pressing Shannon so that saying she must break the mirror if she ever wanted to be united with George. It was a declaration that Shannon's feelings would never be brought to fruition unless she broke it.
やめてください。
Please stop it.
そうなの。
I don't
聞きたくない。
want to hear something like that. Yeah, that's fair.
そなたを苦しめたかったわけではないのだがな。
It was never my goal to cause you pain.
まあいい。
Oh well. I mean, there's a chance he kills us
愛
at
に
some point.
苦しさを感じるも人間の醍醐味よ。
When love leads to madness, that is when we see the true charm of humanity.
その感情を存分に楽しむがよ
Enjoy the emotion to your heart's content.
い。だが、我が力を借りたいと願ったなら、いつでもあの鏡を割る
If
が
you
よ
wish to borrow my power, feel free to break that mirror at any
そして
time.
我が名を叫び、呼び覚ますがよい。
Yell my name and awaken me.
わらわは必ず約束を
I will
守る。
certainly keep my promise. And then murder you?
これならば文句はあるまい。
This way you have no complaints, right?
そなたに今すぐの決断を迫るわけではない。
Force you to decide right now. It's easy, isn't it? Was it really such an easy thing to do? It certainly wasn't. The Shannon who was burning with infatuation and worried by love, being tempted constantly and eternally with a way out, was truly a cruel trial.
この約束に
she
期
is
限
a
は
witch.
設けぬが
I won't set a time limit on the
願い
promise.
を叶える魔法には期限がある
There is a time limit on the magic that can grant your wish.
その期限はわらわが決めるのではない
The limit's not of my making.
そなたの思い人が自
The one
ら
of you
決
you
め
love will decide it himself.
意味がわかるか
You see my meaning?
わかりません。
I don't understand.
そなたの思い人が愛のちぎりを結ぶべき相手を決めた時がその期限となる
Interesting phrasing. Interesting phrasing. When the one you care for finds the partner to whom he ought to pledge his love, that limit will be reached. Ought to?
わらわは魔女だが鬼ではない
I may be a witch, but I'm not a demon. I mean, that she hasn't said when he meets someone other than you. You could imply that, it could be implying that it could be her anyway, and she will take it the other way. Because she says ought to, she doesn't say like his parents assigned for him or something specific like that. She says ought to, so it could still be Shannon. But you know, that's Beatrice, she's probably doing some tricksy shit to try and get her into this contract. Maybe a witch, but I'm no demon. Let's
互い
see.
を愛し合う二人を引き裂く魔法は持ち合わせていないので
I possess no magic to tear apart a pair of those who love each other other than the murder powers, yeah. Apart from the murder powers, yeah.
そなたの思い人は近いうちに見合いに臨むそうだな
The one you love will soon be attending a marriage meeting, yes, yeah.
そなたは世界で一番その男のことを思っているかもしれん
You may have stronger feelings for that man than anyone else in the world.
だが世界で一
But that
番
doesn't
ふさ
mean
わ
you're
し
the
い
best
とは
partner
限
for
ら
him,
ん
right?
ぞわらわは見合いの相手を知っている
I know with whom he'll be having his marriage
その
meeting.
娘は世界で一番後ろ宮ジョージにふさわしい
That girl is the most suitable for Ushiro Miya George in the entire world. Damn, if you actually give a flying fuck about George, you would go, damn, that's amazing. In the entire world? Good luck, dude. I hope he has fun. Imagine being told by someone who is a literal witch who's like, this person they're gonna meet is literally the perfect person for them. But you know, if you want me to ruin his relationship and set it up with you, I could do that. You're like, so do you value yourself over George? What does a person who actually cares about George say here? Do they say make George? Do they say set George up with me? I'm just curious if she wants to say that, and she claims to have, she claims to be speaking from a position of authority, that she can see the future, she can see who they're going to be meeting, and that they're perfect for them. I think if you have perfect knowledge in this situation, the appropriate response is to just be like, oh, okay, have fun. Like, in theory, you're supposed to want the best for the person you like, right? In theory.
良い学校を出て良い成績を残し落ち着きがあって思慮深い
Came from a good school, achieved good grades, and possesses both composure and thoughtfulness.
お前より美しくお前より聡明でお前よりふさわしい
She's more beautiful than you, wiser than you, and more suitable than you. But here's the thing. Beatrice hasn't actually said she can see the future, or that she can, like, peer into reality and matchmake people or something. This might just be her assumptions, or her projections of your beliefs that she's better, i.e., this woman came from a good school, therefore she is more appropriate for George than Shannon is. She achieved good grades, therefore she's more appropriate for George than Shannon is. It might just be taking the conditions that Shannon sees internally as more valuable or valid in evaluating a partner and saying, well, you know, based on your own criteria, I think this person's better for him than you. That could be what she's doing. Turning your own insecurities against you. Seems like a good plan. How could an ignorant, incompetent, uncultured girl like you be suitable? And look, she is adding the insults that Ava said into the pool to push her, right? Into her dialogue or discussion to push her further, because she may have seen how those hurt Shannon and been like, okay, I can use these to pressure her.
お前が一番知ってい
You know better than anyone.
る。お前が一番ふさわしくない。
There are none less suitable than
お
you.
前と後ろ宮ジョージが結ばれるなど想像するだけでも罪深い。愚かしいことよ。
Even imagining that you,
愚かしい身の程知れい。
even imagining that you and George could be joined is sinful, foolish, foolish, foolish. Know your place.
義務教育に行かせてもらった恩も忘れて。
Have you forgotten to be grateful for your
身
education?
の程を知りなさい。
Know your
ジョ
place.
ージはお父様の血を引く孫の中では若男に当たるのよ。
George, the eldest grandson, carrying
ひ
father's
ょっ
blood.
としたら未来の後ろ
Wait,
に
this is just Ava's dialogue, isn't it?
になるかもしれない人。
This is just straight verbatim Ava's dialogue. George is the eldest grandson carrying father's blood. He's the person who may bear the burden of the Ashiromiya family someday in the
その
future.
期待に応えるためにたくさんの勉強を重ねて素晴らしい大学に入り素晴らしい成
Yeah, to
績
answer
を
the
残して
expectation,
い
he
る
studied
わ。
tirelessly, entered a wonderful college, and got wonderful grades.
そんなジョージと無能無資格無教養な使用人風
Do you
情
really
が
think
釣り
you
合う
could snatch George away, you uncultured, incompetent, unqualified, uncultured servant?
やめろシャノンをいじめる
Stop it, don't bully
な
Shannon.
様は誰だ
Who the hell are you? At that time, as Shannon held her head, trying to protect her heart from the blade of Beatrice's words, Cannon ran in front of her. Cannon didn't care who this woman was. If this is an enemy tormenting Shannon, who he loved and respected as a sister, nothing else mattered.
カノン君
Cannon,
下がって
stay back.
この方は
Yeah, that sounded quite like Beatrice, it sounded quite like Ava's voice actor. They might have just reused the same lines, since those were verbatim her words. It's pretty hard to tell, though. That was really smooth. Yeah. If you get from Beatrice to Ava, hard to tell. Stay back. This person is... It seemed Cannon also realized that being standing before him was the witch of the portrait, and also that she was something to be feared.
シャノンに褒美を取らせたかっただけだがわらわの言葉が過ぎいじめてしまったようだな。
I simply wished to give Shannon a chance to claim her reward, but it seems I said too much and ended up hurting her.
それは謝ろう。
I must apologize for that.
だが先ほどの約束はそなたへの褒美として残してゆく。
I'll leave behind the promise as a
わら
reward
わ
to
の
you.
力が必要ならばいつでも呼び出すといい。
If you need my power, call me at any
その
time.
方法はすでに教え
I already told you how.
た。では
Oh,
これにて今宵は退散しよ
let's
う。
call it a night.
敵意の眼差しは心地よくあるが美容にはちと悪いのでな。
Hostile gazes may be pleasant, but they damage your beauty, yes?
消えろ
Disappear.
お前が何者か知らないがお前はシャノンを脅かしている
I don't know who you are, but you're threatening
二
Shannon.
度と現れるな
Don't show yourself ever again. Cannon's words seem to deeply annoy the witch.
言葉を選ばぬか下船め。
Watch your language,
わら
Lord.
わは敬う者に寛大だが敬わぬ者には残酷であるぞ。
I may be gracious to those who respect me, but I'm brutal to those who do not. While she still smiled, the witch's face began to twist itself, and then an oppressive feeling that couldn't be noticed with any of the five senses gradually filled the room, even though they couldn't understand it. They immediately realized it was something terrifying. When you swim in the ocean and something large passes by in the water beneath you, you want to escape to land before you even learn what it is. And that's what this was like.
おやめくださいベアトリーチェ様
Please stop, Beatrice.
カノン君はまだ子供なんです
Cannon-kun's still a
言葉
child.
遣いについては謝ります
I apologize for your language. Cannon placed his body between the witch and Shannon. There was tense sweat on his forehead. At the time, the witch certainly held Cannon's fate in the palm of her hand. She didn't even need to lift a finger. He held her grasp on his fate so tight a swingle twist of her smile could easily crush it. Cannon understood that as well. He started sweating. His knees felt weak. However, Beatrice abruptly released the feeling of tension and laughed.
よかろう。
Very
そ
well.
なたが求めるなら特別に許そう。
You ask, I'll forgive you just this once.
カノンとやら
Canon, isn't it?
彼女に免じて今宵は許して使わす。
In deference to her, I shall forgive you tonight and send you one.
感謝するがよいぞ。
You ought to
さ
thank
て
me.
今宵はこれで退散する。
Very well, let's call it a night.
別れの挨拶に一つ土産を残そう。
Parting, I'll leave you with a small souvenir.
二人とも左手の手のひらをこちらへかざす。
Hold out the palm of your left hands, you two. When Beatrice grinned broadly and snapped her fingers, their left hands stretched out in front of them, against their will, and their palms opened. It was a strange sensation, as though only their left hands now belonged to someone else. It felt like only their left hands became puppets, which were pulled by strings hanging from the ceiling.
これは何の真似だ。
What are you trying to do? Cannon resisted, but couldn't retract his hand of his own free will.
騒ぐな。
Don't struggle. It'll all
す
be
ぐ
over
に
soon.
済む。
When Beatrice held her pipe aloft, a gold-colored sparkling dust came out of the smoke and hovered in the air. The sparkle became several gold butterflies. The beautiful butterflies danced freely through the reception hall, forming a fantastical and beautiful world, and the two of those butterflies alighted on the palms of Shannon and Cannon's hands. There was a sharp pain as though they'd been burned, and when the two of them tried to examine their palms, that hold on their bodies, which had been there a second ago, was gone without a trace.
遅これは
What is... There was now a tiny burn mark on the palm of her hand, shaped like a butterfly.
これは何の真似だ。
What's this supposed to be? Apparently Cannon had the same mark on his hand. He stared at the witch hatefully.
単なる挨拶よ。
A simple
愛
greeting.
はない。
No hidden
ただ
motive.
のあざに過ぎぬからほんの数日で言えよ。
It's nothing more than a bruise. It will heal in a
手
few
当
days.
ても必要ない。
There's not even a need to care for it.
それはわらわが確かに今日ここにあり、そなたと約束を交わしたことを明日に忘れさせぬための印だ。
I made the mark, so tomorrow you'll not forget that I truly was here and that I made a promise with you.
わらわとの出会いは刺激が強い。
Good plan. An encounter with me can be quite shocking.
翌朝にわらわとの出会いを夢か幻と思い込み、忘れようとする人間も
Sometimes
時
in the
には
next
いる
morning
の
time,
でな。
people try to think of such an encounter as a dream or an
ゆ
illusion.
っくり考えるがいいぞ。
You ought to
シャン
consider this slowly and carefully, Shannon.
そしてゆっくりと休み、明日の朝日に我が印を見て改めて考えてみるがいいだろう。
You should take a good rest, look at my mark tomorrow morning, and try to consider it again.
わらわは何も強要せ
I
ん。
won't coerce you in any way.
そなたが自らの意志で自由に未来を決めるがいい。
Decide your future by your own
も
will.
っとも欲する者の対価がその程度で済むとは
Think
な。
one could obtain the object of their desire for such a small
貴
price.
殿をテーマに戯曲を書き上げた偉人たちが悔しがるぞ。
Surely this would annoy to no end the great artists who write plays about blighted love. I'm sure there's an artist who's written a play about asking for your true love via a witch. I'm sure there's at least one playwright who's written that.
それでは縁があったらまた会おう。
Let's meet again when the chance arises.
久しぶりの会話は実に楽しかったぞ。
How entertaining it is to have a conversation again after so much
さ
time.
らばだ、家具ども。
Goodbye, furniture. Beatrice's body crumbled like smoke and blew away. It was golden smoke, well, more like a cloud of gold butterflies. They scattered in all directions inside the reception hall, leaving a golden splash before disappearing into thin air. After that, only the cold silence was left, and it was so silent it made both of them think they might have been daydreaming until just a moment ago, which is why the witch had still left those marks. She'd done so to make it impossible for them to think of it as a daydream. Bye, Beatrice. Beatrice. Shannon and Cannon remembered the butterfly bruises on their hands and the pain they felt when they'd been made. They kept standing still, stunned, and from that moment on, Shannon was tormented by days of suffering and conflict. Because she's gone. True. Now we say Beatrice, because she's gone. We gotta moan about not being able to see her for a while. Okay, we've seen her twice already. That might be more than Kinzo's ever seen her. Alright, I think this will be next scene will be our last for a bit. What do you mean separate rooms? Wait, you and George Nissan stayed in different rooms on purpose?
はい。そんなにもおかしかったでしょうか。
Jessica's mad that you used separate rooms instead of sleeping together when you were on vacation in Okinawa? Yeah, I can see why she'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Jessica's cheeks had been stuffed with a chocolate-coated Chinsuko biscuit that Shannon had brought as a present from Okinawa. It all came flying out at Shannon when Jessica cried out.
シャノンさ、何のために沖縄まで旅行に行ったんだよ。
Shannon, why did you even go on a trip to Okinawa?
それもジョージ兄さんと二人っきりで。
You were even alone with George.
それはとても大きな水族館が沖縄にあるから。
He said there was a huge aquarium in Okinawa and invited me to go.
私、お魚とか好きですし。
I like fish and stuff.
いや、だからさ。
That's not the point.
健全な男女がお泊まりありで旅行に行ったわけだろ。
We're talking about a healthy guy and girl going on an overnight trip, right?
それでチューもなければギューもないのかよ。
And you're saying there weren't even any hugs and kisses?
ましてや、部屋は男女で別部屋ってなんだよ。
Seriously? The guy and the girl stayed in a different room?
チューについてはノーコメントです。
As for kisses, no comment.
でも、ギューはありましたよ。
Good hug though.
ジョージさんの胸、温かかったです。
His chest was warm.
そういうことじゃねえぜ。
Not the point.
なあもう、なんだってこんなカップルがいるんだよ。
Why do couples like this exist?
ああもう、じれってぜ。
I can't take it anymore. From Shannon's point of view, it was an incredibly happy trip for various reasons, but it looked like Jessica found their pace to be irritating. Glacial, even. For a while, Jessica chewed her present, complaining about romance and pretending to faint in agony on her bed. Oh, this is Shannon's room. Or not Shannon's room, this is Jessica's room. Damn, nothing on the walls, alright. Shannon and George chose to go to Okinawa because there was a huge aquarium there, and it's probably miles away from this house. They did this because an aquarium had given them the opportunity to start going out. Since their relationship had started at an aquarium, having their first overnight trip also be at one must have held some commemorative value.
そんな記念の節目の
It's like a huge commemorative turning point.
初のお泊まり
And
旅
your
行なら
first overnight trip.
いろいろと進展するもんがあるはずだぜ。
How could you not make all kinds of progress there?
それが
Instead,
男女別部屋
you both got separate rooms?
カップルでシングル2部屋
A couple taking 2 single rooms.
ああもう本当にどうかしてる
What's
ぜ。
wrong with you?
それはお互い独身の男女ですし、
Both unmarried?
ジョージさんがそこをしっかりするのが男女のマナーだとおっしゃって。
George says showing restraints are good manners for a couple.
だからそれを踏み越えるためのお泊まり旅行じゃねえのかよ。
I thought, like I said, the whole point of this overnight trip was so you could overcome that stage, right?
もはやキューとかギューとかのレベルじゃねえぜ。
You're way beyond kissing and hugging by now.
お嬢様がどういう意味でおっしゃってるのかわかりま
Maybe,
せん
I
が、
don't know what you mean by that.
ジョージ様は最後まで本当に紳士でいてくださいました。
I like how what Jessica's like, you should be way beyond hugs and kisses by now, and Shannon's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know whether she's playing dumb or she's actually ignorant. It's all just one massive edging play? Those damn kinky people. Oh. I'm with Jessica though. Maybe because Jessica has taste. Anyway. Maybe because Jessica is currently best girl. Sorry, Beatrice. Alright, George was a real gentleman with me until the end. That is to say, I mean, I also wondered if those things would happen, you know, even though we're going out. Not like we're married or anything. These things you seem to be expecting. It should only be done after making a vow before God. And Shannon's face got bright red. She made a circle with both hands, restlessly intertwining, separating, and making heart marks with them. Apparently the dramatic progress Jessica looked forward to hadn't happened, but it seemed to have been an important experience for Shannon in her own way. And in the end, whether Jessica was jealous of Shannon or made fun of her, it didn't change the fact that Shannon had a huge lead on her. I want a boyfriend too. Can't believe you got ahead of me. Even though we promised we'd find boyfriends at the same time you beat me. You're a wonderful person, milady. I'm sure you'll find someone wonderful much quicker than me. How old is Shannon? How old is Jessica? Oh, she's like crazy old, isn't she? She's like 20-something years older than me, I think. Damn, she's pretty old. Yeah. No, relative to the year, I'm like, how old is she? And I'm like, shit, she's like 20-something. Damn, she's really old. She's like 20-something years older than me. I'm like, I guess Jessica's too old for me. In present day. In 2022, she's old. She'd be a little bit old. She's 8. Well, this is before turning 18. So she might be 17 here. She might be 17-ish here. Or when did the gate break? The Tory gate broke like when she would be like 16, 17-ish. So it might be around then. So this might be 1984. Right? 1984 then? That's like 17. Let's see. That's like 84. That would be like 16 years before then, so we'd be looking at like 22, 32, 36. It'd be 36 years ago. She was born 1968. So she's like as old as my parents. A little bit old for me. Yeah, born in the 60s. She's old as fuck. But in this timeline, I mean, she's kind of cute. Why not? Yeah, 54. Pretty old. I'm sure you'll find someone wonderful quicker than me. You already found someone though. Don't try to console me. Chen, you traitor. Get up. Shut up. Jessica threw several cushions at her, but midway had an asthma attack and started to choke pretty badly. Shannon hurriedly ran over to a nearby side table and started searching around on top of it. A cute basket was placed there, and inside was Jessica's bronchodilator. Shannon picked it up and handed it over to Jessica. Jessica's asthma attacks always came suddenly, and because of that, she always needed to carry this medicine around. Oh, that's a new picture. That's a new background, too. Oh, she breathed in the medicine and after a while managed to overcome her choking as her asthma finally settled down. Shannon thought this was a good chance to leave and tried to exit the room after bowing courteously. As she did, one more small cushion came flying and hit Shannon on the head. She noticed Jessica was on the verge of crying, half her face buried in her last and favorite cushion. The face was red and meek. Shannon. Be honest with me. It's like You're doing stuff weird? I don't think so. I don't think so.
まさか。
What are you saying?
お嬢様の髪はとてもお美しいと
I
思
think
い
your hair
ま
is
す。
beautiful.
じゃあ
Alright, hi,
目と
strange.
か変かな。
My nose?
鼻とか変じゃないかな。
The irises are very small.
やっぱり喋り
Is
方
it the way I
が
talk
ダメなの
after
か
all?
な。だから彼氏できないのかな。
Why can't I get a girl or boyfriend?
そんなはずはありません。お嬢様はそのままで十分に素敵です。
My lady, you're wonderful enough as you
そ
are.
してその魅力はこれからもっともっと
And
増
your
していく
charm
と
will
思い
keep
ま
on
すよ。
increasing more and more from now on.
でも私だけ彼氏できない。
I'm the only one who can't find a
サク
boyfriend?
もヒナも彼氏できたのに私にだけ
Saku and Hina got boyfriends. Only I
や
can.
っぱり私には魅力ない
Is it
か
because I don't have charm after all?
みんなね文化祭に彼氏連れてくるんだって。
Everyone says they'll bring their boyfriends to the cultural
私
festival.
もその日までにはきっと彼氏いるって思って。
I was so sure I'd have a boyfriend before then. I started bragging.
彼氏だってできやしない。
There's no way I'll get one.
私だけ
I'm the only one.
私だけ。
Before she realized it, Jessica was shedding huge tears. Jessica didn't really feel like crying, and of course, she felt like supporting Shannon's progress in love as a friend. However, she cheered Shannon on, and her true feelings had suddenly got mixed in. She couldn't help but shed tears. Shannon understood her innocent and easily injured heart. The rough style of speech Jessica usually used was just an attempt to protect that fragile heart. As a daughter and successor to the Ishiromiya family, and as a girl isolated on Rokkanjima, the only person she could expose her true feelings to was Shannon. Shannon understood that, so she strongly regretted acting smug, even if it was only a little. Sorry.
涙出ちゃうなんて。
Weird crying like this.
私ごめん。
Sorry.
お嬢様は素敵な方です。
You're a wonderful person, my lady.
そんなお嬢様に素敵な男性が現れないわけがありま
There's
せん。
no way you won't find a wonderful man.
シャノン、もう
Shannon, it's
時
about
間だ。
time, right?
早く行かないとまた現地さんや母さんに怒られるぜ。
If you don't go quickly, Genchi and Mom will get mad.
私は全然平気だから早く行きな
I'm
よ。
fine, just hurry up. Sorry for crying at this.
泣いちゃったりなんかしてさ、バカみてえだぜ、私。
I'm such a moron. Jessica faced away, acting as though she didn't want to trouble Shannon, waving her hand as though chasing her away. Shannon took that as a sign Jessica didn't want to be bothered anymore, bowed her head, and left the room. Shannon's footsteps disappeared into the distance. Jessica lay down on her bed, still hugging a cushion. Her expression was a little meek, with tears in her eyes, but for the first time in a long time, she had a very, very quiet and honest conversation with her heart.
私
I also
恋が
want to fall
したい。
in love. The next day, or sometime later. I'm afraid that was the end of the scene, and we're gonna have to wrap things up here. That will be the last of Umineko for the night.